Enter the passcode and press the pound or hash key.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, June the 10th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. and we're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. Today, we're going to have the invocation by our Pastor Emeritus, Pastor Mike McMahon, to give us the invocation.
This prayer comes about because of the situations that are taking place around our country. So I would ask you to give special consideration as we go before the Lord. Father, in the name of Jesus, we praise you and offer up thanksgiving because the Lord is near and He is coming soon. So we will not be worried or have any anxiety about the terrorism that threatens the lives of people who travel and those who are stationed on foreign soil or at home. But in this time and situations and in everything by prayer and definite request with thanksgiving, we will keep our wants known to you. Father, our petition is that terrorism in the heavenlies and on earth be stopped before it spreads any further in the earth, and specifically to Hood County. Amen. Jesus, you've given us the authority and the power to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power that the enemy has, and nothing shall in any way harm us. We shall not be afraid of the terror of the night, nor of the evil plots and slanders of the wicked. Therefore, we establish ourselves on righteousness in conformity with God's will and order. We shall be far from even the thought of oppression or destruction, for we shall not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near us. Holy Spirit, thank you for writing this word upon the tablets of our hearts so that we can speak it out of our mouths, for we will order our conversation in such a way that the commissioners go about their business today into complete and total freedom and without any concern other than getting the job done according to what you want. And it is in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you would, please join me in the pledge of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the pledge to the great state of Texas.
I pledge the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, Ms. Wilburn, we have no special presentations, no service awards. Is that right? So we're going to go right into the next agenda item, which is the citizens' comment at large. And so far, we have 3 speakers. I remind everybody, we got 4, that once we start this, that you cannot submit one once we start. So we got 4 speakers on this, and the first speaker is Kenneth Copeland. Mr. Copeland.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to come in front of your court today and talk about a couple of things that are near and dear to my heart, and that's the safety of the citizens of Hood County. Recently, the North Hood County Fire Department had a fish fry. I don't know if any of y'all made an opportunity to get there for the purpose of raising funds. And I just talked to those guys about it, and they said, yeah, that some of the things that they feel like they need, they feel like they have to raise some money on their own. And those guys put in so much time on their protecting us already. And to think they have to spend hundreds of hours to put together a fish fry or pancake lunch to try to raise some additional funds, that causes a little breaking of my heart for that, And so I think there's understanding there's a budget meeting on this tomorrow with the court. And so I'm just saying, let's try to give those guys what they need. I'm not saying what they want, because those are often two different things. Let's give them what they need to protect us, the citizens of Hood County, so that they're not having to spend all that other time away from their families running fundraisers. The second thing I wanted to talk about is overtime with the Sheriff's Department. I retired from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and during that time, I was a grant administrator, and we funded law enforcement throughout 6 states. And that money went to help DWI enforcement, seatbelt enforcement, things that law enforcement need to do to, once again, make our community safer. And when I got here, retired, I said, well, I want to give back to my community. And so I went to the Sheriff's Department and says, hey, I'll come in, I'll run your grant program for you. You won't have to have officers take care of it. I'll make sure everything runs smooth, and we'll get you grant with TxDOT, and you'll have some additional resources for time control. And also, you can get some equipment that you need through those grants. And so what I ran into right off the bat when I talked to Captain Barry, he said, well, we're not allowed to work overtime in Hood County. He said, all we can do is get comp time. And I said, well, that kind of kills our plan, because for our program, it's an overtime program, and you have got to have that. I've kind of done a little bit of research, and you got officers now that are 250 to 300 hours of comp time. Unfortunately, a lot of times those guys do not get the option to not work overtime. At the end of their shift, if they hit something, they've got to work it. They've got to stay on duty. So they're going to accumulate that time. Now, to me, not being on the commission, I don't see where it buys you anything, because you're going to eventually pay for that comp time. When that person retires or leaves the department, Hood County's got to come up and reimburse them for that time that they are due. And so, to me, it would make it much easier, budget-wise, for you to pay that as it goes, so that you can keep up each month to month and year to year and know what you got. Right now, you've got a huge unpaid bill on your dockets, and if you have multiple deputies leave, that's going to all come due. So I'd like for you once again to look at the overtime policies in the county and see if maybe some adjustments could be made. Not only to open up the opportunities for the federal grant program, but to also to pay those guys in a timely manner. Because, quite frankly, a lot of time that overtime is at Christmas. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Mr. Richard Halves. Is that close?
Close enough, Your Honor. Good morning, Judge and Commissioner. My name is Richard Halves. I come to you today as a member of the Board of Directors of the Granbury Volunteer Fire Department. 10 days ago, the Hood County Fire Academy graduated 52 new firefighters. That's the largest class the County Fire Academy has ever had. The Fire Academy is truly a community event. The instructors come from all 9 of our local volunteer fire departments, and the community steps up and feeds the firefighters lunch, with churches bringing food in to make the day go better for all of them. The attendees, the 52 graduates, came from 16 different fire departments, 8 of them here in Hood County and 8 beyond the county, who travel as far as an hour and a half to be trained here because of the reputation we have here in Hood County of supporting our firefighters, providing the means to start their careers and be well-trained and be well respected with the knowledge that they gain here. This all is a result of leadership. Most leadership, of course, comes from the fire departments themselves, where the chiefs and officers put together the training academy and do all the scheduling and work, but it goes beyond that. That includes the leadership we get from the commission here, supporting our first responders, our firefighters, with the equipment, with the subsidy, and with the concept that public service is important. You set the tone, and the rest of us follow. Thank you for setting the tone for us.
The next speaker is Tina Brown.
Good morning. Before I start, can I ask, is this being recorded? It's not being live streamed.
It's not being recorded this morning, and the reason for that is that, as you all know, Drew Whitaker was terminated here 10 days ago by a vote of 3-2 of the Commissioners Court. And Drew was the one that was in charge of the live streaming and the audio. And then this morning at 8:18, we received the resignation of Owen Kernut. So from my understanding is that the IT department does not have anybody that can do the video or the audio for this building. So it is not being recorded, but the county clerk is making an audio recording of the.
And when will that be available to the people who are contacting me, wanting to know why it's not online and they can't watch it because they can't be here because they have to work?
Excuse me, is this appropriate for public comments at large? There's not
Yes,
supposed
it
to be a
is. Yes, it
discussion.
is. It's an emergency deal. Let me ask you this, Alicia, when will a copy of this meeting be available to the public?
It should be available this afternoon.
This afternoon. Okay. So with that
How
explanation,
will it be available so I can let people know?
They'll just email me, prompts to get to them, or contact our office, and then just a copy.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before this court today, even though I know that the majority of this court doesn't care for me or anything I have to say. That does make it hard to get up here and speak, knowing that. But here I am anyway, to put my thoughts into a public record. It's not being recorded. First, I'd like to address how unprofessional, unethical, improper, and negligent for a member of this court to stand at this podium and make unfounded, baseless, unsubstantiated accusations against an entire department of this county. I believe it has been stated in this court before that speaking at this podium is basically the same as being under oath to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I did watch the video of a special meeting of when you fired the IT director. While I agree that he should have taken care of being in compliance first and foremost, but I have to wonder why this court let it slip by for so long. There is one member of this court who has been trying to micromanage almost every department in this county since she took office. So I find it very hard to believe that she just let it go this long, unless it was on purpose, so she would have a more legitimate reason to fire him. I did find it surprising that the two people on this court who have said in open court many times that they know nothing about IT are the ones who made the motion and seconded it to fire the dedicated department head. How can you feel good about yourself firing someone when you don't even understand what they do? I've wondered if he has ever been evaluated for job performance. Since it wasn't mentioned, I'm guessing either he's never been evaluated or he has always had a good evaluation. So was this his first strike or his third? It's not like he ever refused to do his job, right? It's too bad that he didn't pitch a fit in this courtroom after refusing to do his job and then whine about it, saying he needed more staff, which this court gave to Kate Lane when she did the same thing. But he probably wouldn't have gotten away with it like she did. I'll finish with this thought. This county has become a very toxic and hostile environment to work in for certain departments. I'm wondering if there will be lawsuits soon. Thank you.
the next speaker is Tim Bolton.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. On behalf of Pecan Plantation, Texas, that I represent as part of the Republican Party at large, and in Hood County, as well as the chairman who asked me to come and speak on his behalf. We are the party of small government and low tax and fiscal responsibility, individual liberty, traditional values, and free market. So I want to praise you guys for your good governance and lower taxes. So thanks for that, and thanks for introducing that. And my gratitude for it is expressed here. And I want to encourage you, Judge, as well as the commissioners, to support that effort as it comes on your agenda today. In other news, I want to talk also about IT and just give you some contrast. You know that I'm also on the school board, and so I have some insight into that. And just to give you some contrast, for the school district IT department supports 10,600 Chromebooks, 2680 iPads, 1,100 Chromebooks, or I'm sorry, that's Chrome boxes, the big desktop type, 1,800 Windows laptops and desktops. They do all of that with 5 techs, 3 network engineers, 1 user support like help desk, 1 software engineer, and 1 director. And that doesn't even count how many nodes on the network that they support and firewalls and the rest of that. So just to give you some idea of how small an IT department can be and support that many endpoints. That's it. Thank you. Good morning.
All right, that concludes the citizens' comments at large, and it brings us to the miscellaneous business to be conducted. Item number 1, pursuant to Local Government Code 152.014, take appropriate action for the county judge to draw names for the Salary Grievance Committee from a pool of citizens who served on a grand jury in Hood County during the preceding calendar year. Ms. Miller, do you have those names? Are they? All right, here they are. I forgot how many. We have to pull a bunch of names, so I'm going to pull the first name out. First name is James William Travis. The second name is Joseph P. Lamb. The third name is Roxanne Hamrick Thompson. The next is Ashley Nicole Dixon. The next is Carmen Denise Ritchie. Next is Carlos Aaron Guerrero. The next is Donna Jean No. The next is Donna K. Peterson. The next is Christian James McLean. The next is John Anthony Baum. How many is that, Alicia?
10. That's 10.
How many?
10.
10. I think we draw, what, 15? I think that's what we do. The next is Regina Gail Clements Smith. Next is Amy Lynn Reeves. Next is Cody Ryan Whitten. Next is Kurt Wayne Carroll. The next is Kim Lee Cothran. I'm going to give a couple more because we had to. The next is Jody Cheyenne Rohall. R-O-H-A-L-L. One more. The next is Marshall Perry Stringer. I'm going to keep the rest of it here in case we get too many or somebody gets disqualified, so we can draw from this envelope that is sealed back. So I don't guess we need a motion for that, or y'all want to make a motion to say that these are the names that I have called are the grievance, a salary grievance committee.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to accept the names that I have just read into the record for the salary grievance committee, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in agreement say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the county judge to sign the contract for professional services with Innovative Transportation Solutions. This is what we voted on last Commissioners Court that was approved unanimously. And so do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we authorize the county judge to sign the contract for professional services with Innovative Transportation Solutions.
I'll second that and add that the funds, the $30,000 is coming from general admin contract services account 0104090400800.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to authorize the county judge to sign the contract for professional services with Innovative Transportation Solutions, second by Commissioner Samuelson, with the caveat that the $30,000 is to be drawn from the General Administration Fund. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3, discuss and take appropriate action to request purchasing to issue RFP 2025-11 for IT contract services. Commissioner Samuels.
Yes, thank you, Judge. First, I want to thank Mr. Tillman for the thorough job of pulling this very technical RFP together in a short time frame. Also, thank you to Mr. Hapes, who again has offered his expertise and advice on this. As I mentioned last court, I think we owe it to the taxpayers to explore every option and determine what's best for the county. We may end up with a hybrid solution, but we won't know until we see what's out there. Over the last couple of weeks, I've contacted several counties, and there are a variety of in-source, outsource, and hybrid solutions. For example, Medina County, which is close to our size, 60,000 with 350 employees, has been outsourced for over 10 years. Henderson County, 87,000 population with 400 employees, is insourced with a department of 4 in IT. After looking at about 20 counties, I looked at a couple of metrics. The IT budget per total population and IT employees per total county employees. The per capita IT budget ranges from about $13 per capita to $48 per capita, with the majority around $25 to $35. Somerville is 13, Hood County is 48. So we are at the high end of the spend per capita. Looking at the IT employees compared to total county employees, the range is from one IT person for every 32 employees to one IT person for every 115 employees, with the average being one for about every 60. Hood is at 38. So again, we are not as efficient as many other counties. With that said, I think we should look at all the options and find the best and most cost-effective solution for Hood County. So I was going to make a motion, but if
No, we got a
there's
speaker.
Speakers, okay.
Okay, the first speaker is Sam Goldsmith.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I just want to introduce myself to the court. I know that the county is trying to navigate the IT situation, and I know that that is complex and takes a lot of your time. But my name is Sam Goldsmith. We are an IT managed services company, and we specialize in county government. We've been in business for a little over 21 years. We have been with county government for 20 of those years. And we have a team of 13 people that are spread from Dallas, Fort Worth, to Austin, to West Texas, specifically Abilene and Brownwood area. The changes that are affecting county government and IT are extensive, and I'm sure you know this. There are just a lot of changes that are happening fast. The things that I would draw your attention to or just mention is the CJIS compliance of the IT situation for all of your law enforcement and court system. That used to change about every 3 years, and it changed 3 or 4 times in the last year. So meaning that compliance and complexity for IT is speeding up. And what we're seeing with counties is that it requires kind of all of the above strategy, whether that's insourced, outsourced, or hybrid of those, because it's hard. And often in IT, what you see is your jack of all trades, but a master of none. Meaning if you're just putting out fires, that can lead to other complexities in county government, because you all are a 24/7 mission critical public safety, life safety organization. Another change we see in county government, which a good county has already met, is moving to .gov. That's a federal government recommendation. So your website, I will commend you on. It's phenomenal. I was able to find information on your website. You've already moved to .gov, so I think y'all are ahead of your class in that area. Another change I would bring your attention to is the TLET system, which affects the sheriff's office and law enforcement. It's experiencing its first change in my lifetime that's going on right now. We have advocated with DPS Austin, and we've worked with DPS Austin in supporting our counties for the last 20 years. And that system is moving to a new, faster, more reliable, non-weather dependent system. And we've already converted all of our customers to that system, so they're kind of at the leading edge of that. I went back and watched some of your meetings, and I see where you're considering forming an IT committee, or maybe that's underway. I commend you on that. I think that is key to success for Hood County moving forward, and that's been our experience. And one thing I would encourage you to do is to make sure that you have Commissioners Court involvement in the IT committee. I know open meetings presents complexities if you have more than 2 people on it, but what we've seen in some counties is if the Commissioners Court is not engaged, then when it gets to Commissioners Court, they don't feel like they have buy-in, or they don't understand the complexities and cost of it. We've been through this process with 3 other counties. One of them had an internal IT department of 1 person and a part-time person, and we saw that outsourced. Others were outsourced and stayed outsourced. And then we've worked with counties that have done more of a hybrid type model. But I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. That may be premature to have questions at this point, but I just wanted to get in front of you and introduce myself. And here's a resource. We work with all the people you work with, TAC, Texas Association of Counties, CIRA, Health and Human Services, DPS, DMV support. We have contacts for IT at all of those locations and work hand in hand with them. You may have seen our booth. We attend most of the County Judge and Commissioners Association meetings, as well as the TAC Legislative Election Security Update, and then some miscellaneous conferences throughout the year. But I appreciate your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any. If not,
I do have a couple of questions. How many counties do you provide outsource to right now?
Yes, sir. Currently, we're 12.
12?
Yes, sir.
Out of those 12 counties, do any of them have an IT committee?
Yes, sir.
How many of those 12 have an IT committee?
Off the top of my head, Judge, I would say 4, but we are working and pushing counties to do that, because it helps us and it helps the county hold us accountable and to communicate internally. But we see that as the future. But yes, sir, I think currently 4 or 5 of our counties have that.
And those 4 counties, what is the population of those 4 counties?
Sure. On the high end, Judge, the largest, well, I'll caveat this in just a minute, but the largest county that we support is roughly 40,000 in population, and they have a little over 200 users. And then we have counties that are...
No, my question is,
yes, sir.
Out of the counties that you outsource for,
yes, sir,
what is the population of the counties? You said 4 counties have an IT committee.
Oh, sure. Sure.
What is the size of those counties that have the IT committee?
Okay, yes, sir. So one of them is 40,000 in population. One of them is
What is that county?
Brown.
Brown?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next.
Eastland County is roughly 19,000 in population.
Okay. Next.
Think about this next. Mills County, which is Gulfway, Texas, is roughly, I don't want you to catch me on this, but it's 5,000 or 6,000 would be my guess.
How many?
5,000 or 6,000. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
And then San Saba County is one of our customers, and they're probably in that 4,000 to 5,000 range. So Eastland and Brown are the two on the larger end of that. I know that's smaller than Hood, but yes, sir.
Well, Brown is about half the size of Hood County. You understand that?
Yes, sir. I know. Is your population? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask a question. But
Well, I think the population back on the 2010 is around 70,000, but
Okay.
because of 911 stuff, we think it's more like 75 to 80,000. Don't you agree with that, Sheriff? Or maybe more?
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I
So see,
saw
it's
this.
twice as big
Yes,
as
sir.
the one that has the IT committee.
Yes, sir.
How many members are on this IT committee?
It includes the district judge on down, but there's roughly about 12 to 14 people on it. Most of them are elected officials and stakeholders. There are 2 commissioners that participate in it. The district judge participates in it. The district attorneys, first assistant district attorney participates, then county clerk, district clerk, county judge, so forth.
No people from the IT department, though.
That county was it had their own IT department, and that person left, and they moved it to completely outsourced. So we serve as their IT department at this point, Judge.
Okay. So, okay, I got that. Tell me this, Mr. Goldsmith. When
Yes,
is the very first time that you contacted Hood County or anybody in Hood County
Yes, sir.
about your services for Goldsmith Solutions?
Yes, sir. I responded to a question by one of the commissioners about your audio video system and provided third-party companies that provide audio video for courtrooms.
When was that?
I would say that was in the April timeframe. I'd have to go back and look.
What year?
This year. Yes, sir.
So the very first time that you had anything at all with connection with Hood County or any commissioner or anybody in IT department, anybody, is, you're saying, April of 2025?
Yes, sir. As far as contact, I would add, Judge, that I've followed Hood County for some time, specifically when you all went through your transition from net data to Tyler, because we help counties with that process, and we were trying to learn anything that Hood County learned in that process.
Did you contact anybody in Hood County with that transition with Tyler?
No, sir, I did not. I watched the meetings online, and the county judge from Brown County, I believe, spoke to someone here at Hood County, but I couldn't be specific about that. He just shared information with me.
So if you go back to all your correspondence and everything, you're saying that the first time that you ever had any contact with Hood County was in April of 2025?
Yes, sir.
What was the name of the commissioner that you contacted?
It's me. I mean, you
Okay.
know, I've been looking at ways to improve our audio.
I'm asking the questions right now, excuse me. Now,
Yes, sir.
besides the audio, you said it was audio vision. Did you have any other conversations with anything else? Back in April of 2025 with Commissioner Samuelson.
Pardon me. We talked about county government in general and the challenges of county government being decentralized, meaning that every elected official is their own boss. And that presents complexities and challenges when it comes to IT being successful, because IT is a county-wide function.
So when did you first start talking about IT with Commissioner Samuelson?
Well, I wouldn't say that we talked, I mean, I was responding to the question of audio video, and this came up in that discussion in April of 2025.
April 2025.
Yes, sir.
How many conversations have you had with Commissioner Samuelson since then?
One.
One?
Yes, sir.
How many correspondence have you had with her? Email, texts, or written correspondence?
I I would have to look, Judge, but there was one sometime in May, and there was one last week. And when I say one last week, it may have been 2 emails. I'd have to go back and look, but on 2 different occasions.
You're talking about May of 2025?
Yes, sir.
And then one sometime in June of 2025?
No, sir. There was one in April of 2025, and then there was one in one interaction, meaning like there may have been 2 emails, but it was all on the same day, in May of 2025, but not in, I'd have to look at my calendar. Wait, it was last week. I don't know if that was early June.
Last week?
Yes, sir.
What was the purpose of the meeting last week?
There wasn't a meeting, Judge. It was to follow up because I saw on the website that Hood County had a change in IT.
Okay. Have you ever met personally with Commissioner Samuelson?
One time.
When was that?
I feel like I should have my attorney present, but I'll be happy to answer your questions. That was in April, I believe, of 2025. It was in that same April. I'd have to look and see if it's late April or early May, but it was on one occasion. And I'll just go ahead and I have nothing to hide here and trying to be as transparent as possible. That was in her office, where her precinct office is here in Hood County.
Was there any discussion in that first personal meeting about IT?
Yes, sir. I mean, audio, video, and IT are all commingled at this point. Not just for Hood County, but IT is becoming IT supports the audio video system, and the audio video system is very IT centric. I mean, those 2 things are kind of hand in glove.
Was there any discussion about the efficiency or non-efficiency of the IT department in that personal conversation you had with Commissioner Samuelson?
No, sir.
Nothing about the IT department at all?
Well, there was a discussion about IT projects that y'all have, meaning like the Tyler project specifically. I asked about because, again, we support counties that have Tyler. That is very complicated and complex, and we are in the process of transition. So I asked about how that process went for Hood County because, again, I've been following that through your website and videos.
Okay. All right. Was Drew Whitaker's name ever brought up in any of the conversations that you had with Commissioner Samuelson?
Not that I recall, Judge. Is that the director of IT, is my understanding?
Yeah, he was head of the IT department.
Right.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
I've had the research done for all the counties around Hood County about whether they had in-house or they outsourced.
Yes, sir.
You're pretty familiar with that, aren't you?
County government specifically, yes, sir.
Okay. For example, Parker County, in-house.
Correct, yes, sir.
Denton County, in-house.
Yes, sir.
Erath County, in-house. Tarrant County, in-house. Johnson County, in-house.
Yes, sir.
Ellis County, in-house. Hill County, in-house. McLennan County, in-house. Comanche, in-house. Kaufman, in-house. Collin, in-house. Navarro, in-house. Wise, in-house. Jack, in-house. Brazoria, in-house. Bell, in-house. Guadalupe, in-house. Liberty, in-house. Reeves, in-house. Edgar, in-house. Rockwell, in-house. That's all the counties that's pretty much surround Hood County. Now let me tell you the ones that I have that are outsourced. Somerville. Do you do the outsourcing for Somerville?
No, sir.
You know how big Somerville is?
It's a relatively small land mass. I don't know what the population is off the top of my head.
Yeah, probably about 16,000 people.
Okay.
Okay, so they outsource it. How about Palo Pinto? Do you outsource for Palo Pinto?
No, sir.
Okay. You know how big Palo Pinto is?
No, sir, I don't.
It's smaller than Somerville, isn't it?
Yes, sir, I would
About
guess
4,000 or 5,000
it's
people?
mainly rural and PK.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What about Hamilton? Do you outsource for Hamilton?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. Same thing with Hamilton. That's a very small county itself, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
4,000 or 5,000 people, maybe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I put it in that range. We support some of the neighboring counties in that area.
Okay.
And
What about Eastland? Do you do the outsourcing for Eastland County?
Yes, sir.
You do?
Yes, sir.
How many people are in Eastland County?
We talked about that earlier, Judge. I would put it at roughly 19,000, 20,000.
19,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So of all the counties that surround Hood County, you do the outsourcing for one of those counties, because everyone that I read off on this list, you're familiar with all those counties, are you not?
Yes, sir, and I would add, Judge, that Comanche didn't have IT support really very well until the last year or so, and they brought that in-house with a single person. And ERAP does have a single person, but they do outsource some of the functions of IT. We've met with the IT director there recently.
Do you do some work for Erath County?
No, sir. We just met with the IT director recently at the TAC IT conference in Georgetown that was talking about cybersecurity.
So that it stands just what I've read. All these counties that are around that completely surround Hood County, you don't have anything to do with any of those counties except Eastland.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And Eastland is the only one that you provide outsourced services for.
Yes, sir. That's true.
Okay. And Eastland has, how many people, about 19,000?
It's under 20,000. It's roughly 19,000, Judge.
Okay. And they have one in-house IT person?
Well, we support Eastland County with our entire team, which we have 13 people on our team. We have network, system engineers, help desk, all of that. So they get the benefit of our team. Sometimes it just requires one, sometimes it requires several.
Okay. Now, out of all these counties that I've just read to you,
yes, sir.
The only one of these counties that have an IT committee is Tarrant County. Would you tell us how many IT personnel Tarrant County has?
I don't know, Judge.
Venture an educated estimate.
Sure. Tarrant County is growing rapidly. I would probably say they have in the hundreds of IT people.
Hundreds of IT
That's
people.
what I would guess, Judge.
In excess of 200.
Well, let me back up, just because I don't know, and I know you're asking me to be an educated guess. I'm personal friends with someone at Denton County, and they have 4 different teams for IT, being the different functions of IT, and each of them have anywhere from probably 8 to 12. So I don't know how Denton compares to Tarrant in population. They're probably
relatively small to Tarrant County.
Yes.
Well, you familiar how Tarrant County IT department is organized?
No, sir, I'm not.
It wouldn't surprise you if they were broken down like into 7 departments.
That Denton County is set up that way, and a larger organization would be divided into multiple departments. Yes,
Okay. So if they had an IT committee, who would you think was comprised of that IT committee?
Judge, this seems very adversarial, and I'm not sure why.
I'm not being adversarial. I'm getting information from you. I'm getting information from you.
This seems very aggressive and adversarial. And
I'm not being adversarial with you, sir. Am I? I'm just asking you for information about it. Do you know how the IT committee is set up with Tarrant County?
No, you're cross-examining.
Yes, and as we know, Tarrant County is multiple times the size of Hood County. And as I mentioned, I did some research, and I gave a few, but I'll go down the list. Medina County outsourced over 10 years, 60,000 population, which is
All right, excuse me, you can continue on, but I'm not through. I got 2 more questions, and then you can have the floor. How about that?
And Judge, I would say that I don't know what I'm walking into. Well, I do know a little bit of what I'm walking into because I've been government for 20 years, but I'm happy to answer your questions.
Okay.
I'll answer the
That's
best
all.
I can, sir.
So you don't know who comprises the IT committee in Tarrant County?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. Now, there is an IT committee in Leon County. You
Yes,
familiar
sir.
with Leon County?
Yes, sir.
And you don't outsource for Leon County?
No, sir, that one of our competitors does.
Okay. Do you know who comprises the IT committee in Leon County?
Yes, sir, I believe it's the auditor, treasurer, county clerk. I believe someone from the district judge or district attorney's office is on there. It's kind of the key players that I would expect to be on there, and I believe one commissioner is on there.
Good deal. Thank you very much for coming down here. Listen, I was trained as an attorney.
Yes, sir.
And I practiced in Dallas for 50 some odd years. I can't help but be that way. I didn't mean to offend you.
No,
I don't mean to be adversarial to you.
No, sir.
If I offended you in any way, I sincerely apologize. I just tried to get the information.
I understand. I have pretty thick skin. My mom was a court reporter in Dallas County at one point.
Who? What court was she in?
I honestly don't know, Judge. It's been in the late 70s before she decided she didn't want to raise her kids and my brothers and I in Dallas.
Well, please tell your mother hello for me. She probably knows who I am. Okay. I've probably appeared in all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Samuelson.
Yes, thank you. So, as some of you may remember, last summer, there was a motion and an approval to look at a more efficient way to, actually, I'm not sure that this is applicable to this agenda item, but since you asked questions, to look for a more efficient way to record our meetings. And after several months went by with no movement on that, I just looked in the back of the book that we get from TAC. So TAC produces a name and address book for every county commissioner court in the state. There's lots of advertisements in there, and I looked in the back and there was a technical area where you could reach out to different listed, I'm sure you paid for that advertisement. So I saw a couple of companies in there, and I reached out to both of them and said, hey, can you help us find a more effective way to record our meetings? And that's how I met Mr. Goldsmith. So that's how that happened. So as we get back to what the agenda item is Medina County, as I mentioned, is outsourced to a company called HTS for over 10 years. They're very happy with it. They have 60,000 people and about 350 employees, so very comparable to us. We met with them before about their jail. They have big city San Antonio next to them. Uvalde is also outsourced to the same company for over 10 years. They're much smaller, only 25,000 people. Kendall County, 55,000, is insourced with 5 people on staff, 350 employees in the county. Orange County, 85,000 people, 573 people in their county government, and 8 people on their IT staff, with a budget of about $3 million. Polk County is insourced, 54,000 people, 300 in their IT staff. 300 in their total staff with 4 IT. And I mean, this is actually, I already went over this, so I feel like I'm just repeating myself. Again, the purpose of this is just to ensure that we're looking at all options and doing what's best for the taxpayers. And I feel like this went down a very, what did you call it, adversarial role, or adversarial.
I think he's cleared it up. He didn't think it was adversarial.
Okay. It sure was uncomfortable for
you maybe, but not for him and not for me. And I don't think for the citizens.
I thought for a guest coming to court to speak, the questions were very adversarial, but it's great. It's all public. We want everyone to know what's happening with their county government. So I don't have anything more to say. I think I've already covered that this is something that I think that, just because an RFP goes out doesn't necessarily mean we do any of it. We're just requesting information so that we can make a better decision for the county and the taxpayers.
Okay, I have a question whenever you're done.
I'm finished.
Mr. Goldsmith?
Yes, sir.
Have you had any conversation with any other court members?
No, sir.
Sir?
No, sir.
You have not?
Correct. No, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Okay, if not, do I hear a motion?
Wait a minute. I got a couple of things. First of all, I appreciate you coming in.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't know you were going to get interrogated up here, but that's okay.
It's not interrogation, it's called asking questions.
I've got the floor.
It's called asking questions. Well, I disagree with your concept. He said he didn't feel adversarial.
What else is he going to say? He's standing right there. What else is he going to say to you? I'm not going to argue with you about that. So would it surprise you, and I'll let you know that yesterday I spent most of the day, or a big part of the day, in Parker County, talking to their IT director. Parker County abuts Hood County. So if that's a criteria, it's our next door neighbor.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. James Kaywood is the IT director there. And he also teaches cybersecurity at Weatherford College. He has 4 people under him in his entire IT department. 4. Plus him makes 5. We discussed the potential of outsourcing. We discussed a hybrid situation, and all those he was open to. Whatever fits with your county is a good idea. We also talked about a committee, and he suggested that when we look at a posting for an IT director, for instance, that we form a committee and not people in the county, by the way, maybe a commissioner or 2, but basically outside people that know IT. Because someone so eloquently pointed out that I don't know that much about IT, and I admit that.
Yes, sir.
But as an attorney, you know what we do? When we have an area that we are not really sure about, we go hire an expert. And we ask that expert, okay, tell me about the situation here with whatever it is, whether it's backhoes, farm equipment, electrical components. And we recently, within the last several months, we actually hired an outside firm called SLG Technologies to come in here and conduct an audit of our IT department. And they came in here, they talked with all the IT people, they went to the department heads, they conducted a thorough audit, which my understanding is that in the real world, IT departments in big corporations get audited. They audit their IT departments. Does that sound about right to you?
Yes, sir, both from a compliance standpoint to make sure that they're complying with all the applicable rules and laws and industry standards, as well as just from an HR standpoint to make sure there are checks and balances.
So would it surprise you to hear that an IT director in Parker County who teaches cybersecurity at a college, would it surprise you to have him, if he told me that all the people in IT should be cross-trained in what each other does, so that if we go down and don't have somebody to run our cameras, for instance, that there's somebody in there that knows how to do that? Does that sound like a foreign thing to you?
No, sir. Internally, we have what we call subject matter experts, meaning that there's a point person for a camera system or a Tyler system, but we cross-train so that when that person's out, that our customers are served.
Wow, that's exactly what he told me yesterday. Isn't that interesting? Here's something else they do up in Parker County. This 4-person IT department with their IT head of the department, they also take care of all the radio systems, the cell towers. They handle all of that. Would that surprise you?
No, sir. And much as I said just like I said to the judge, that audio video is becoming IT, radio is becoming IT, and I took about an hour and a half to watch the radio conversation for Hood County, so I understand some of the challenges y'all are facing there, and it can be solved with an IT, fiber redundant, resilient network, meaning you can build a network across Hood County that serves your radio system, serves your computers, serves your phones, etc. Everything is coming from multiple highway lanes in the technology electronics world to a single lane, and radio is part of that.
So if we have and interestingly enough, the person in charge of the audit, SLG Technologies, that produced a report after so many months of working, he was also interrogated at some point. And but let me read you the punchline in his.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And this is regarding staffing. According to his report, which is a matter of public record, I think, we have 275% more staff in our IT department than we should based on industry standards. We have IT staff right now who, many of them think that they've only got one job and that's it. And so is it unreasonable for us to take a look at your services potentially staying in-house, because the judge pointed out all the counties that they keep their IT department in-house. But would you consider it unreasonable for us to consider all these options right now where we're at?
Commissioner, I don't want to answer a loaded question, but I think looking at all the above makes sense if you're facing this change that you haven't faced in some time. Meaning that my understanding is that the person that left had been at Hood County for some time, and so kind of reevaluating, because the technology, not reevaluating with any goal in mind, but the technology world has changed very, very fast. I sometimes worry that when I'm my dad's age, will I be able to keep up with it, because it's changing that quickly, and I grew up with it. So,
well, I'll finish up with this. There was a statement made a couple of courts ago that Parker County has an IT person in each department, and I didn't think that didn't sound right to me, but that really wasn't the subject matter of that particular meeting, so I let that go. But I invite anybody up on this court to contact Mr. Kaywood, James Kaywood. He is the head of their IT department. I ran this through, by the way, my good friend and mentor up in Parker County, Mr. George Connolly, who's a commissioner up there. He was a water well driller, by the way, in his real life before he got into government. And Mr. Kaywood was very helpful, very available, and I invite anybody on this court. And yeah, I talked to him, Judge, if you want to get Mr. Kaywood in here and interrogate him. I did talk to him at length yesterday. I spoke with the treasurer. I spoke with other people in Parker County yesterday about their IT department, and they're in good shape up there right now. And he brings interns, on top of everything else, he brings interns from Weatherford College to help them with tasks. For instance, they were in there threat hunting. They called it threat hunting yesterday. So, I guess my point in all this is that there's more ways to look at this than one. There's other counties in this state that do things differently than we do, and I think that we behoove it to our taxpayers out here that we look at all the options, considering the fact that not only is our IT director not here anymore, but the second person in line resigned this morning. So it's time for us to make some decisions and look at our options. So that's where I'm at on this.
Commissioner, could I say one thing to that point? Is that acceptable to you?
Sure.
Okay. I just want to say that my goal in coming before you today was not to try to say this is the solution, this is what you should do. My goal, I did not know that you had this third-party audit is in depth, is what you mentioned. I did hear it talked about on one of the recordings, something to do with adding language to a contract. But my goal was not to try to get you to say, oh, let's put all these people on a job and let's just do this because it's difficult or we're upset or there's a problem. My goal being before you today is we've been in county government in Texas specifically for 20 years. County government is all a matter of scale. It's more complex the bigger you get. I am the first to say that. But the functions that all of your staff and elected officials do, whether a county has one person in that department or 50 people in that department, it's the same function, and the goal is to serve your citizens. The last thing that I will say is that if there's any opportunity where we can help you walk through this, maybe just provide insider assistance along the way and you still keep it in this house, we're prepared to do that, and all of our team is CJIS compliant, fingerprints on file, the state of Texas, background checked. So again, like county government IT versus supporting a car dealership or someone else is a completely different ballgame, and we think we understand that ballgame. And I appreciate your time.
So if an RFP were to be issued seeking services, you might be interested in at least applying for that?
I definitely would read it and look at it. We want to make sure that we're set up for success and that you're set up for success. But yes, sir, I would definitely look into it. And we participated in Medina County's RFP process. when they looked at making a change, but they decided we scored the highest in that process. They had 7 people compete for their business. This was in late 2020, early 2021. A Fortune 500 company participated, a Fortune 1000 company participated, and their current vendor participated. And out of their IT committee, we scored the highest from all of those people on service and understanding county government and having a track record of success. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hold
Yes,
one
sir.
second. About 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, in that same time frame that you were talking about, Parker County and the city of Granbury got hacked, and their whole IT system was down for months. They lost a lot of information. The city was doing business on a Big Chief tablet and pencil, paying bills, trying to get by. And this went on for months, millions of dollars. Same thing happened in Parker County.
Yes, sir.
Our IT department had that same hack, or I don't know if it's the same hack, but a hack, and FBI, Department of Homeland Defense, FBI, Department of Public Safety were down here. Our IT department, you can see it's overloaded, or we had too many or whatever, they caught it immediately. We did not lose any information. The county was not shut down for any time at all, and we did not pay any ransom, suffered no financial damage. And that's because of the IT department that we had in place. So that kind of speaks volumes too, doesn't it, from your perspective?
I think it does, Judge. I don't know the particulars of that situation. I just know that the threat environment is evolving very fast, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you very much for coming down.
Are you CJIS certified?
Yes, sir. Everything we do is CJIS compliant. All employees on our team, from the person that answers the phone to the person that makes photocopies and prepares commissioner's report packets for whatever proposal we give, they all take CJIS continuing education. They all have fingerprints on file. They all have had a background check through TCIC and CIC, and they're all in fact clearinghouse, where if someone on our team is arrested or indicted on some charge, any sheriff that we serve will be notified immediately of that infraction.
Well, that brings up on these IT committees. Are all those members CJIS certified too?
All county employees have to take the regular cybersecurity training through House Bill 3834. Anyone that touches the court system has to have the CJIS certification as well. We have asked for clarification because the CJIS training is harder than the House Bill 3834, which I don't know if TAC provides that to you all, but TAC, Texas Association of Counties, provides that to most counties. And we're trying to streamline that process to where we just make people take the CJIS test versus the more basic test, because anything that passes through your environment, building, whether it's hard paper or electronic, if it has something as low as a SID number, which is like if you've ever been booked into jail, you know what it is, you're an attorney and judge. That is the bottom rung that triggers the CJIS compliance. So any of your attorneys, any of your court officials, support staff, obviously law enforcement, dispatch, etc., they all have to have that.
So it's a good idea to have the IT committee members be CJIS certified.
It's not hard, Judge, and I would say that it wouldn't hurt anything whatsoever.
Good.
And the other thing that I would add is local government code, the 571, I believe. It talks about that IT committee, as long as you don't have, can be done in executive session if you have more than 2 members of the court. And we recommend that anything that's discussed, security or vulnerability or potential vulnerability, be discussed in private and then a report given to the public, not to hide anything from the public, but you know, if your bank vault doesn't lock, the tumbler won't turn, you don't want to tell the whole town like, hey, the bank vault's not locking right now. Because last time I checked, Asa from Andy Griffith isn't with us anymore. He was the bank guard, if you remember.
What?
I said last time I checked, Asa from Andy Griffith isn't with us anymore. He was the bank guard that was always asleep, and you know, they had the code written down on the bottom of his chair. He said
Okay.
Anything else I can answer for you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll be around if you have any other questions. I appreciate it.
Okay. At this time, do I hear a motion?
Yes, Judge, I'll make a motion to direct the purchasing department to issue RFP 2025-11 for IT contract services.
Okay, a motion made by Commissioner Samuelson to direct purchasing to issue RFP 2025-11 for IT contract services. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion?
Well, there is, we do need a point person for questions and providing a tour.
Well, let's see if it passes first, and then if it does, we can get in that.
He asked me to make it part of the motion, so the purchasing director did, so we can move on.
Well, if we pass it on the thing, then that's part of it. When you issue that, it will provide for that tour and when the facilities are made payable. Am I right?
Yeah, I was just asking for the court to appoint someone in the IT department to be responsible for the facility tour and for answering all the questions that will come about in the RFP.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we want to amend the motion then to say that we want to add somebody from IT department. Who at this point would you like to name?
Well, I haven't spoken to him earlier. I did ask Owen yesterday, and he agreed to, but Chris, can't see you, but are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to request purchasing to issue an RFP 2025-11 for the IT contract services with Chris to be the point man on this contract, answer any questions, provide the tour. What's Chris, your last name?
Larson.
Okay, got that, Alicia? Okay, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Passes 3-2. Okay, item number 4. Discuss and take appropriate action to appoint an IT oversight committee. This committee would provide leadership and prioritization to the IT department.
Yes.
Okay.
So we talked a lot about this in the last discussion, but you know, what I've observed here and heard from people at the podium is their need, and they're asking for direction, the IT department, especially during this time where we're reviewing the options, and especially in the next few months, because whatever we end up doing is not going to be done in the next week or two. So I think that the purpose of this oversight committee is to provide guidance, direction, and feedback, help set goals, and provide proactive communication to the commissioner's court. As we heard, it's a best practice for county government. So I would like to ask Mr. Goldsmith to we talked about the sieges.
Okay.
Are there speakers? Well, go ahead. If there's speakers, we can do that.
Well, I think it'd be beneficial for you to come up here and address this.
Yeah.
Given the state right now.
I
haven't started the building for you, so you're good to go.
You didn't know what you were coming down here for. Do you normally charge for your expert opinion?
So I have asked a few people ahead of time, or people had asked to participate in this, but two things that have come up since then were non-county employee involvement and also the CJIS requirements. So when I was thinking of this as more of a management type committee that would, as I mentioned, give direction, oversight, goals, help with prioritizing things, remove roadblocks, those kind of things that come up as within an IT department that get escalated to normally the director. But since we don't have that person in place right now, I feel that this committee could help serve as that point of contact and prioritization. So tell me how the CJIS requirement would be involved in more of an oversight and goal setting and removing roadblocks, those kinds of things.
Yes, Commissioner. So the CJIS process, and this is all public knowledge, so I don't mind talking about this in open court. The CJIS process requires a couple of things. The first thing it requires is whoever administers the training for the sheriff's office, because it starts with law enforcement, they have access to a portal that DPS Austin provides. You do not have to pay for licenses. You don't get charged if you add more people to it or delete people from it. And that portal basically sends out an invite where you take a computer-based training. It used to be 30 to 40 minutes, and it was pretty simple. If you put it at the highest level, which is the IT level, meaning there's like 4 different levels of, the lowest level is like a custodian or facilities person that has physical access to your building, but maybe not access to the data. But if you set that at the highest level, which is IT, there are, it's going to take an hour plus to take that test. You can take it as many times as you want. You just have to get a passing score. The next thing that it triggers is you have to have fingerprints on file with the sheriff's office, which I can't speak for the sheriff, but most sheriffs have live scan where they can put you into the system as if you're an employee. They just code it so that it doesn't code you as a criminal on the ORI. It codes you as like a human resource inquiry. The next thing that it requires is a driver's license to be provided to the sheriff's office, and that to be ran for a criminal history. And there is a decision tree on what offenses you can have. I always have people tense up and get very nervous when I say that they're about to be ran through the system, because they come up to me and whisper and say, I have a traffic ticket but I paid it. And I said, if traffic tickets were the problem, I would be disqualified because I drive so much. But it's basically, there's a decision tree on what class of offense you can have and still be considered eligible. And then the last thing that it requires, given that you've taken the test, you put your fingerprints on file, the sheriff's run your criminal history, and there's no flags based on the decision tree. The last thing it requires is the sheriff would subscribe to that user in the FACT clearinghouse. I don't know what FACT stands for off the top of my head, but it's a DPS website that the sheriff's office has access to. And again, if something changes with that user, the sheriff would get notified, hey, this person no longer qualifies. One thing I would say, Commissioner, and I hope I'm going to turn to saying this, is anyone that walks through this facility that has more privileged access than the public does, meaning a tour, for example, I would highly recommend that you at least have a criminal history ran on them prior to the tour, and that they qualify for the tour based on that decision tree. Maybe they don't have, because you have someone that sees just walking them through, you don't have to have them take the test and have their copy of their driver's license, all that. That's at the sheriff's discretion. But I would highly recommend that you know who you're dealing with before you give them a tour, inside the kingdom, so to speak. I hope that answers your question. That's a long answer to
Well, I'm a little unclear as to how the folks that have volunteered and we can have discussion about this and take into consideration the comments about having people outside the county or having the county clerk, she's not here, but I've spoken to her ahead of time, and the county auditor and JP4 all volunteered to be part of this oversight committee. And again, it's not getting into the data, it's just what are your things you need to do, what are your lists, what are your tasks, what are your priorities.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's give some.
And that's a great line, meaning that if it's not getting into the data, but do they have inside information like, hey, you start discussing what are Cook County's challenges, and you find out that you have this single point of failure and this single point of failure and this other thing that's not being done. Mm-hmm. That person now has privileged information that they could share.
Yes, that
so
makes sense.
That's the reason I would say the safest thing would be to have them go through that process.
That makes sense.
So that they understand that they're dealing with sensitive information, much like a bank has, or HIPAA medical type information. You have to know you can't disclose these things. I would think the IT committee, I've been a part of outside committees in my professional job. I've been a part of county facility committees that has nothing to do with IT. Just as a citizen, I would encourage you to have a little bit of all, because IT, a little bit of all of above. And what I mean by that is county government IT, it's still printers and email and all of that, but these systems that your users deal with, specifically the court system, is very unique. And the concept on service level agreements and metrics and all of that are the same, but hearing some of the pain points that your users have are going to be very specific. They're going to say stuff like heart for election and tech center for birth and death, and no one outside county government knows what those two things are.
Okay, thank you.
Or often they know.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
And she had this motion here that Commissioner Sampson has put on here is this committee would provide leadership and prioritization to the IT department. Well, if this committee is going to prioritize the task that the IT department is faced with, you're going to have to understand the data. Let's give you a concrete example. You got the JP, a constable,
right,
and the sheriff all call the IT department and says, look, I need you now. Something's wrong with my computer, something's wrong with Tyler, something to do with my host system is down, the console system of warrants is down. I've got to have you right now. All three, and the sheriff says that.
Right.
Whatever, dispatch or the radio, like you said, it's all blended together now.
Yes, sir.
How can this IT committee, without really understanding what is at issue, make the decision of which is those three things, in that simple example I give, which one is prioritized? Which one should the IT department go over first? We got to have some parameters that set for the IT committee what they can and cannot do. Do you agree with that?
Well, Judge, can I tell you how we handle it in other counties? Which
but I'm going to let you do that.
Yes,
but in that deal, let's say that's what happened, and I think in talking to Drew, that's what happened to him, and a lot of times, and he did 21 major projects in a relatively short major time. But everybody was calling down here, if something goes wrong with your computer, the treasurer, purchaser, auditor, they don't want to get in line. They want action now. They want them to come over right now and fix their computer so they can continue their work. So how is this IT committee that's going to be composed of the DA, I see him back there, the county judge, district judge, how are they going to be able to help the IT department prioritize to say which one of those goes first, the sheriff, the JP, or the constable?
Sure. I don't know what the intention of the motion is, but I can tell you that this is a problem that is not unique to county government, and that everyone wants it to work as fast as possible. And if I'm down, then I'm the most important. I had a county judge one time tell me, if someone calls you and it's emergency, I said, what happens when they all call you at the same time, which is your example? And he said, well, they're all emergencies. I said, Judge, if everything's an emergency, then nothing's an emergency. And so what we have done over the last 20 years is develop a metric hierarchy, like that's an adopted process by the county, that says this is what qualifies as critical, high, medium, and low. So when a ticket comes in, it's not acted upon based on who you're friends with or who signs your check or whatever. It's everything goes through that metric, so that, for example, critical would be like all countywide affected, like the internet's down. High might be the treasurer's office can't process payroll. It can process payroll. I don't know if that's treasurer, auditors, every county's different, and so forth. And so low would be something like, we've never had this before, but we'd like for you to hang a TV on this wall, and we've got the TV in the box, etc. The second part of that is we have a process that we review with counties and ask for their commissioners court to adopt. It says if we're in a disaster. So that could be a disaster because the court declares a disaster. That could be a disaster because the governor declared a disaster, included Hood County in that. Or it could be a computer disaster, like you have ransomware and it's locked down. If we're in a disaster, here are our priorities based on function. public safety, number one. County operations, getting people paid, making sure that people can get checks cut to make trucks roll or gas cards get paid off or whatever is number two. Court system, making sure that someone doesn't have their due process about, denied would be number three. And then social services, other services that are not life safety, due process, or county operations.
Well, it'd be a good idea to have this matrix done before you even establish the IT committee, wouldn't it? I'm asking him the question. I'm asking you the question. I want you to answer the question.
Okay, yes, sir. So often it's hard for counties, if they don't have that in place, to understand the complexities of all these different departments until they all sit around the same kitchen table, so to speak, and say, here's my experience, Judge, is when you sit around that table in a committee, the county clerk says, here's my problem. And the JP says, I have that same problem, because they use the same tech server system, which is not the best that you're required to use because the state of Texas makes you. And so then you can start writing down all those issues and ranking, and educating the committee on this would all be critical, this would all be high, so that we don't have to come up with every single scenario of possibility that might happen in IT, because that's hard. But yet it's kind of like, a org chart or a hierarchy. Like, here's all the things that fall under the side. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm trying.
It does.
And I don't think that this committee is going to be going, oh, well, my printer's down, that can wait. If somebody's at a point of selling in JP Court trying to pay a ticket and the credit card machine's not working, that's obviously a higher priority. If something fails in the radio system and you've got people out there responding to an emergency, that's obviously a significantly higher. These aren't decisions that this committee is going to make. This is going to be your department is making these decisions internally, a triage of what's going on, and what this committee is going to do is more the general broad direction for the department, not those.
I would describe the commissioner as setting guardrails and then judging performance based on those criteria and those guardrails. Because we see in counties that, whoever screams the loudest gets served, and that may be the county judge's secretary. No offense to your administrative professional. I don't know this person, but it may just be based on proximity. And so often in IT, one of the hardest things to deal with, sitting on that side of the desk, meaning like you've got all the users on one side and the people responsible for all this on your or on the other, is they don't see things behind the scenes that are extremely complicated and extremely important. And I've had this problem. I've been hauled in front of a commissioner's court and yelled at before because someone's printer wouldn't print, even though she had a printer that she could walk down the hall to. And I said, we are having backup replication issues to our data center, meaning like we're not backing up off site because of some issue. Someone having to get up to walk to print is not a priority, and it's not that it's not a priority, it's just not as high of a priority. And so establishing those guardrails is good.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And as I've been over the last year or so helping interface with one of our vendors to get things escalated, to get things done, the things that I will escalate, is it affecting public safety?
Sure.
Is it affecting the public? So if someone can't come to the window and do some function at the county clerk's office, the district clerk's office, the JP's office, if there's somebody from the public that is being affected by the system failure, that's a priority. So this isn't, sorry to say, rocket science. This is a normal process that IT does. And we may already have this prioritization because our IT department is making some type of decisions on what things they're doing. So we do, I don't believe that we need to reinvent the wheel. It's already out there. This is normal IT prioritization processes.
Well, it's not a thumbs up or thumbs down, like, okay, IT committee, someone wants their doctor moved across the room, do you all want to do that, yes or no? We're not talking about that, is what I get from what you're saying, is establishing the guardrails.
This is more of leadership, strategic planning, especially in this interim where we have a gap in leadership. So I do think that it could be, up to whoever is on this committee to write this is what our function is, this is how we're going to do it, bring it back to court, and go from there.
Well, and one thing I would add, Commissioner, is formalizing that through Commissioner's Court after the fact helps, because it takes some of the pressure off of the IT staff, specifically the help desk side of it. And at one county they say, anytime someone yells at y'all or gets upset about something, just tell them the mean old auditor told me to do it. So I don't know if y'all have a mean old auditor, but where IT can point back and say, these are the adopted policies through Commissioner's Court. If it wasn't thought, if there was something that came up that doesn't fit the model, then let's come back and talk about the model. But if it does fit the model, you can yell and scream at me as long as you want. I've got to follow this because this is what this department or that individual is going to be judged upon. The last thing I would say, unless you have other questions, is having, and I don't know what the answer to this is, it's a little bit different for each county, but having and break glass in case of emergency type situation, formalized through Commissioner's Court is a good idea. And what I mean by that is if each elected official is their own department head, which it is according to the Texas Constitution, if the county were to be hit by ransomware or some kind of malicious something, you want someone that will back IT up to say, everyone needs to log out from their computer, like where you triage and try to reduce your risk. Under the Texas law, because this was written in the 1800s, it doesn't take into account that IT, that someone is touching every single function. And so we've had counties pass that and Commissioner's Court has to post an emergency agenda to take action, and Judge, you can speak to that better than I could, but there's a 24-hour thing, there's a 3-hour thing or something. But we've only had one situation in 20 years that we had to call the county judge, and he, in that situation, was the appointed, it was a much smaller county, he was the appointed, break glass in case of emergency, and I had to tell him, Judge, we have a problem, we don't think the problem is widespread, we know our backup systems are affected, but I need everyone to stop what they're doing on their computer so that they don't continue making this worse. And this was probably about 2012 time frame. And I could have gone and talked to every single elected official, and because of relationship and trust, probably gotten them to agree with me. But I needed to be able to say, someone up the food chain for me said, we have to stop. We evaluated, we realized where the problem was, we corrected the problem, and got control.
Good.
Well, I have an idea that I'll just throw out, and kind of taking a page from some of the more Republican Party or other organizations that set temporary committees that then decide what the actual permanent committee will be. So that's an option that we today name a temporary committee that will then do the things that both of you guys have mentioned about creating guardrails, what this committee will do, bring that back to court, and then we decide, okay, based on your recommendations, now this could become the formal committee. So is that something you guys would be interested in? Okay, well then I'll make a motion.
We still have a
sorry.
speaker.
Okay, I asked about speakers earlier.
Thank you. We have a speaker that
Okay,
needs to
thank you
speak.
so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Tina Brown.
When I think about a committee, I think about a group of people sitting around a table talking about how we're going to do this. Is that what we're talking about, or it's going to be a committee of however many people, and when somebody has a problem, they'll just go to somebody on that committee instead of going to the IT department?
Are you asking me? Since that's my agenda.
Yeah.
This would be a committee that's going to provide leadership and direction to the IT committee. So it's not that kind of It's not where if you are a county employee and you're having trouble with your computer, you don't go to the committee. You still use the same processes you use today. So whether they meet twice a month or whatever, if we're going to establish this temporary committee, they would be the ones to determine how often they meet and what their guardrails are. But really it's to run interference, give direction to the IT committee so that, or to the IT department so that they can focus on the things that they need to focus on. And then get the priorities. If, for example, there was a comment that there was a misunderstanding about the priority of a certain project that wasn't completed. So that could have been solved or resolved by having a committee to say, okay, here's 10 things or 21 things that you're working on. Let's prioritize them based on the things that Mr. Goldsmith said. Is it public safety? Is it affecting the public? Is it affecting a wide variety of departments in the county? Let's go prioritize them based on the criteria and help you set your priorities. So it's a process that happens in IT on a normal basis.
Well, I feel like this Commissioners Court has been that committee. I don't understand why we need another committee. Who will they report to?
The Commissioners Court. They will report back, just like any other committee that's set up by the Commissioners Court. It will allow them.
So you don't want this job anymore? Because this Commissioners Court has been giving Drew direction. I've seen him in here asking for direction. So this Commissioners Court was giving him direction. You were doing that job as committee, right? So now you want another committee of 12 to 18 people?
No, I mentioned 4.
Oh, okay. He said most of the small counties, he said have like 12 to 18 on there.
I personally think that's too many, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, so he also said that most of the counties that have a committee are small counties. I'd like to know why.
Yeah, sure. Come on.
We're kind of like in between those little big counties and the big ones.
Sure. Most counties, if they haven't moved this, I mean, to be honest with you, county government is behind when it comes to IT. When you just look at it from a 50,000 foot view, I'm not saying that Hood County is by any means. I'm just saying that government often isn't the first to innovate. Most counties, if they're very IT centric, are trying to move to this. So it's not a matter of size, like small or large. I've inherited some IT committees that were 12 or 14 people. I think it should be smaller than that because it's harder to get things done, because just to go around the table and ask them what all their challenges are, it takes some time.
But these four counties you mentioned are all small counties. Those are the ones that have committees.
Sure.
Your larger counties don't have committees? Why?
I can't speak to that because we do not serve a large county. And when you say large county, small county, the average county in Texas is less than 10,000. A majority of counties are less than 100,000. If you take out the top 12 or 15, those are in the millions. And really probably top 7 or 8. So Hood County is a pretty large to average to large county in the state of Texas when you take out the large population centers. So I can't speak to that. But what I can tell you is one of the reasons that the 2 smaller counties that you have written down, which were San Saba or Mills, one reason specifically with Mills that they have it is the district judge is required to have a security meeting for the all county facilities on a quarterly or annual basis. I don't know what the time frame is. And so that district judge has merged those 2 functions because he's on the IT committee. He's on the security. He is the head of security for government facilities. And because IT and security, meaning like getting hit by ransomware is a security issue, having emergency response is a security issue, and often that emergency response requires IT, like radios, panic buttons, duress alarms, etc. That's why that smaller county has an IT committee, because they're required by law to have the security and again, all this is kind of becoming one.
Okay.
Meaning that the sheriff can't be successful if the radio system doesn't work, or someone can't be safe if the lockdown or panic button doesn't work, and those are all IT type functions. I hope that answers your question.
I also am going to surprise Dave Eagle because I kind of agree with him that we need IT people on this committee, not district clerks and district judges and I mean, you yourself say you don't understand IT unless an IT comes up here and tells you how important it is. So,
Except for me.
And when was the last time you were in an IT department?
I've spent 30 years in IT, and I retired in 2018.
So you were doing IT in 2018?
Yes.
That's a long time ago. A lot of things have changed.
That's exactly.
And you said that in the last meeting.
Exactly. That's why I keep saying that we need to ensure that we're staying up with the times.
If we are going to have a committee, y'all need to decide if you want it to be county employees or elected county officials, county head of departments, or if you want citizens. And if you're going to do citizens, how are you going to vet them? You know, I think this should be tabled until you figure it out.
Well, that's why I think that it needs to be a temporary committee that brings back a recommendation so that they.
Well, who's the head of IT today?
The Commissioner's Court.
Okay. Huh?
The Commissioner's Court. It would be
Chris. It'd be our IT. He's our IT
I thought you were asking,
today, right?
Yes. I thought you were asking who does IT report to, which is the Commissioner's Court.
Okay, so, I mean, really, I think you need to think about this.
Okay, let me bring up something right here. What really brought this kind of to our head this time is that Teresa Beard from TAC came out and spoke to the Commissioner's Court. Andrea Beard. Andrea Beard came and spoke to the Commissioner's Court, brought up a bunch of things. And one of the things that was brought up was the MFA. So it's an authentication device that you plug. It's a little device you put into your computer or whatever to make sure that it's clean or whatever and not been corrupted from the deal. So when she talked about that, I'm one of those people that is not cyber trained or intellectually trained. I come from a law background where I had 2 paralegals that could make a computer go out and wash my car. So I didn't have to do any of that stuff. But I went back after she spoke, Andrea Beard, about this MFA, and I said, Beth, do you have an MFA? And she says, no. So I went back and talked to Drew Whitaker, head of IT, and I said, Drew, you checked this one box and said that we 100% compliant in the deal. Everybody had this. And at least my office, Beth and Brenda, do not have this device. So how can you say that? And he says, well, Judge, here's the deal. We've been trying to work at it as best we can, but there are 3 offices. Everybody has it except 3 offices. And I says, Drew, you know, this is not good enough. I mean, you have to do that. We've said that we had it. So you got to stop everything at this time and get everybody compliant with the MFA. And that was on a Thursday. And he did. I don't know what he did, but between then and Commissioner Samuelson had a special called meeting on Monday. And I knew what it was going to be about. It was about that. And by that time, Drew had every office compliant with the MFA. Everybody had it. It's all working, except one person. Commissioner Samuelson wouldn't work because she had the MFA that they supplied her, but her computer wouldn't accept it, so she was not MFA compliant. But here's my point. She just got through saying that for 30 years she's worked in IT. Well, let me tell you, when I heard what Andrea Beard said, it frightened me. You make a 100% deal? Well, if you're that computer savvy, It was supposed to have been done back in October of 2024. Why didn't you go ahead and take that and confront Drew with that right now? If you didn't have the MFA then, you should have brought it up just like I did, but brought it up months sooner. I was not headed.
I'm going to call someone over. You don't need to be going after Commissioner Samuelson here. With all due respect.
I'm not going after her. I'm
Yes,
just saying
you are.
what the facts are.
And he's saying.
I'm saying what the
Facts
facts
according
are.
Mm.
to you.
Yes, and as
Am I right?
Well, there are many times that I have given oversight or what do you call it? I'll have to say leadership, asked Drew to come to my office and talk about things that are going on in his office, offered my expertise over the years. But Judge, you have to be able to depend on your IT department to be able to make these changes and do the things that they set out to do. You have to be able to rely on them.
I agree with him. And when he made that statement, I went and find out, does my office have it? And they
Right.
said no, and I confronted him with it.
Right.
You didn't have it. Why didn't you
I
go
did.
and
I
confront
asked
him
him
with that?
in
And what did he
March.
say? In March of
And I
this
have
year?
been trying to get it for the off and on. Yes, I have been. There have been a couple of people in my office trying to implement it. But like you said, my computer was not, it was old. I've only been in office 2.5 years, but apparently my computer was too old to accept the software. So you have to be able to rely on your IT department to do the things that they have committed to do. And this is why I am suggesting now, and I'll make the motion now unless there's any other speakers.
No.
No other speakers, that we establish a temporary oversight committee whose job will be to develop a recommendation for a IT oversight committee that will be responsible for providing guidance and direction and feedback and setting goals for our IT department. And the people who have volunteered and have already said that they would do this are the county clerk, Christine Leftwich, the county auditor, Stephanie Matlock, JP4, Doug Gillum, and I'm available if they would like me to serve on it. If not, I'm fine not serving on it, and so that's the motion.
I second your motion.
I have a question.
Did you sign up to speak? I'm sorry.
No, I just want to know, why wasn't it put out to the rest of the Duke County employees to see if they want to be on the committee?
This is a temporary committee, so you can meet with those folks.
I was just wondering why it wasn't put out to everybody else. Who knew about it?
Well, this is not appropriate at this time. If you wanted to speak, you should have signed up or called me or whatever. Sorry.
Got it.
You have the motion
I
down,
did.
Alicia? Okay, this motion, read it back if you can, please, has been made by Commissioner Samuelson, second by Commissioner Eagle. Please read it back. Can you read it?
To create a temporary committee.
Read her motion back, what she said, because it went on and then she's added some stuff.
I'm just taking loose notes right now. I'll have to listen to the audio.
Do you want me to repeat it? I can repeat
Yeah,
it.
just repeat it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to establish a temporary committee to make a recommendation back to Commissioners Court for a ongoing committee that will serve as IT oversight to provide guidance, direction, and feedback to set goals and proactively communicate with Commissioners Court. The members of the committee, County Clerk Christine Leftwich, County Auditor Stephanie Matlock, JP4 Doug Gillum, and I'm available if they want to include me.
Are you volunteering, Amy?
We were just wondering, she said the same thing.
And let me make sure I'm clear on this. This is a temporary committee to establish need to look at who would be a good committee permanently going forward, if there even is the necessity of a committee going forward. So this is what this committee is going to be
Yes.
analyzing temporarily for now.
Well, I think that the tax collector, and I can see the JP up there for precinct, is it one?
Yes.
One. It's back there, they're volunteering, want to be on the committee. It's not naming anybody. I think if they want to be on there, they should be allowed to put their names in it.
Well, I've already made the motion in a second, so,
Well,
I mean, there's no reason that they can't work with them and discuss it with them and give their feedback.
well, your name is not on there. You're just saying if you want me to serve. I think it's going to have to be more definite so we can vote on it. Either you're in or you're not. Are you naming yourself to be on the committee or not? Because one of these ladies here said that they would, either Andrea or the judge back there with Sissy.
Are y'all willing to serve? Are you okay?
Well, I'll amend the motion. Do you want me to amend it?
Yeah. Are you willing to amend it to include?
We'll amend it. We always amend our motions
Okay.
beforehand.
Okay, so the members of the temporary committee, County Clerk Christine Leftwich, County Auditor Stephanie Matlock, JP Ford, Doug Gillum, Andrea Ferguson, Tax Assessor Collector, and Sissy Freeman, JP1. And I'll rescind.
Do you still want to serve on it?
Well, I think that's probably too many people. Well, I do think there needs to be a commissioner on it, so yes, I will. And Commissioner Precinct 2.
So how many's on it now?
6.
All right, well, I'll second
The
that.
circus.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
So, did you vote? I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
So the motion carries 3-2. Okay. Item number 5. Review job postings for IT director, provide feedback as appropriate, take appropriate action to direct HR to post the position.
Yes, again, Melissa has done a great job. I just want to sing the praises of both Glenn and Melissa, what they pulled together over the last couple of weeks to get this job posting ready. I know she researched many different counties and put together a very comprehensive job description. As I said earlier, I think it's important to look at all the options at this point and not rule anything out. Are there any speakers for this, Judge? Any speakers on this one?
What is this, 5? No speakers on there.
Any comments?
So did you work on this any, Leanne?
I mean, I've reached out to other counties.
So you reached out to Parker County, correct? And Mr. Kaywood helped you and gave you some guidance and sent you some information, or did he send it directly?
The treasurer, Becky.
The treasurer did, okay. Yeah, I spoke with her yesterday.
Yeah.
And they informed me that they looked at our job description and helped add some edits and so forth, so. And I was impressed with Mr. Kaywood, by the way.
I've gone back.
Okay.
I assume all the commissioners and the judge have had a chance to read the job description. Okay. Then,
We'll make a motion.
any comments?
No,
No?
changes
Okay.
I asked for have been made, so I
Okay.
think it's.
Then I will make a motion to ask our HR person, Melissa, to post the position of IT director.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Samuelson to request the HR director to post the position for an IT director. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item number 6. Discuss and take appropriate action to sign a resolution of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, State of Texas, supporting immediate federal action to combat the threat of the New World spoolworm fly to livestock, wildlife, and rural economy. Commissioner Wilson.
This is, first off, I'd like to invite the county extension agent to address this a little bit, and we'll go over the resolution to educate us, because this is a major issue coming in. On top of that, this morning's news, the arrest of a Chinese national trying to ship some additional bugs into the country overnight. So this is not something to take lightly, in my opinion.
So, good morning. I've been asked by my superiors to throw this in here. County extension agents have been asked to not support any resolutions on this topic. However, I am here to bring awareness and educate you so that you can make more informed decisions on this. So, like Commissioner Wilson was saying, this is becoming a more imminent threat. For those who are not familiar with the screwworm, it is a parasitic fly native to the Western Hemisphere. What it does is it lays eggs in fresh wounds of warm-bodied animals, and those eggs will then turn into larvae, and they continue to eat that flesh and build bigger wounds. And if you do not treat it within a week, you lose that animal. And if it is treated, well, the animal will survive, but probably have some sort of issues long-term from then on. This issue was prevalent back in the day. It was eradicated in the 1960s. Cost billions of dollars, millions. I think the most was about $200 million for livestock producers then, equivalent to $1.8 billion today. And the reason why it is becoming a big issue again now is that it was in a very controlled area in Mexico, and they have what are called buffer zones. And recently it has been detected that 130 miles out of that buffer zone is a new infestation. And that is a significant distance from that buffer zone, and that puts that infestation 600 miles away from our border. So we're not trying to create a panic, but what we're trying to do is make everyone aware that there's the potential for the screwworm to make a comeback. As he had mentioned in the resolution, I had read over it. The best way to control the fly is through a sterile insect technique. So what they do is release sterile male flies. They don't reproduce, but they'll mate with the female, and then there's no larvae that come from that. However, they cannot produce those sterile flies efficiently and effectively and in time to control them. So right now what the government is doing is they have given a grant to the USDA. They're working on creating a facility in the US to make sure that we start producing those flies. There aren't a lot of parasiticides that will work. They have been shown to help prevent the flies from infecting animals, but long term they'll still get through. The only way to really treat the animal is honestly have a vet come out and treat it for you. You have to remove the larva. It turns into a very costly deal. So it is very important that we are aware and looking for signs of this fly because it can affect us, I say us, we producers economically. And along with that, it affects wildlife as well. So hunters, people who rely on that income for hunting, things like that, you could lose a lot of deer, a lot of pigs. So it definitely will have a very negative economic impact on us in the long term if this does reach us again. So just something to think about. If you have more questions, you can always reach out to me in my office. I have a whole bunch of information, and I just wanted to note that AgriLife Extension does have a lot of subject matter experts that are working on this at the moment, and as that information comes to me, I can share that with you.
Thank you very much. Very important.
Okay, and there was just a preference, a little bit further. There was a meeting in Brownsville 2 weeks ago At that point, there were already 17 head of cattle that had been infected, and 3 people that had been, bitten by the flies and had to be treated for that medically. So it's not just livestock; it's just, it's, all the wildlife, and it can, also to humans. So this is, something to be quite concerned about. The resolution of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, State of Texas, supporting immediate federal action to combat the threat of the New World screwworm fly to livestock, wildlife, and rural economy. Whereas the New World screwworm fly poses an imminent and severe threat to livestock, wildlife, and economic stability of Texas, with projections indicating its arrival in Texas by July of 2025 and movement to the Canadian border by the end of summer. And whereas the Texas Farm Bureau reports that agriculture contributes nearly $868 billion to the Texas economy, with over 12.2 million cattle, 655,000 sheep, 786,000 goats, making Texas the leading state in livestock production. And whereas Texas is home to a vast wildlife population, including over 5.1 million white-tailed deer, 150,000 mule deer, and numerous exotic and endangered species such as oryx, addax antelope, drama gazelle, and rhinoceroses, which are critical to both conservation and the rural economy. And whereas rural economies rely heavily on hunting, wildlife, and wildlife management, generating over $4.6 billion annually from deer hunting alone, supporting 24,000 jobs and adding $446 million in tax revenue. And whereas the spread of the New World screwworm fly threatens not only animal health but also land values, rural employment, and decades of conservation success, potentially resulting in hundreds of billions of dollars in economic losses. And whereas current treatment options are severely limited, with the sterile insect technique unavailable due to insufficient capability of the USDA's Panama facility, leaving microscopic lactones such as ivermectin, dormectin, eprovectin, and semellabectin as the only viable solutions. And whereas livestock feed manufacturers in Texas are prepared to incorporate ivermectin dry premix into livestock and wildlife feeds to curb the infestation, but are currently unable to do so due to the lack of FDA and USDA authorization for access to the dry premix used in other government programs. And whereas urgent federal leadership and authorization is required to prevent catastrophic loss to the economy, environment, and public trust in rural management. Now therefore be it resolved by the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas, that the Hood County Commissioners Court urgently calls on the President of the United States and all state and federal officials to authorize the immediate production and distribution of millions of doses of ivermectin dry premix for use by livestock feed manufacturers, mobilize and convert existing military and federal facilities to breed sterile New World screwworm flies, ensuing operational readiness within 2 weeks. That the court further urges the FDA and USDA to expedite emergency approval for feed manufacturers to access and utilize ivermectin dry premix in livestock and wildlife feeds across the affected regions. That a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded to the President of the United States, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, FDA Commissioner, and all members of the Texas congressional delegations. That this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon adoption, passed and approved the 10th day of June 2025, signed by the county judge and all commissioners. And I make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the resolution that he just read, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Where did this resolution come from, Commissioner?
Initially, it came from the meeting that was held in Brownsville 2 weeks ago. That was by the, let me think of the name. Texas Wildlife, I believe, is who have held that meeting. Yeah, Texas Farm Bureau. I'm sorry, Texas Farm Bureau.
It's ironic that now we're calling for ivermectin. I can't help but say something about that. After they told us we couldn't use it when COVID hit, and now we're asking, I'm sorry, I just can't help making a comment about that. And I will tell you this, I have heartburn about asking the federal government to do anything. Everything that they do is screwed up. And we're sitting here asking them now to do something else. And I understand the potential issues that are all spelled out in this resolution, that I question whether the federal government will be able to do one dadgum thing to make it any different, other than spend more of your money. Like Will Rogers once said, be glad you don't get all the government you pay for. Anyway, it's just another thing, invisible thing invading us that we got to ask the federal government to stop it happening. That's my comment.
Well, and this, I went to a conference last week, and this was a topic that we discussed. It's emerging, it's fast moving, and it's coming in a hurry. And I think the resolution here is asking for the USDA or FDA or whoever it is to allow to expedite the processes for the manufacturers to make your ivermectin. That can't be a bad thing.
Well, and that's the only part of this resolution that I like is, now did you catch that? Right now the FDA and USDA say you can't do this. So listen to that. We're asking them, well, maybe you ought to do it. Anyway, we shouldn't have to be asking this, but thank you, Commissioner. I'm glad you went to that. Yes. I went to Abilene.
Okay, call for the motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, at 2 minutes after 11, we're going to take a 5-minute break. 10-minute break.
Yes, I hope ivermectin is the house.
Me too.
I mean, this is to put dry mix in the feed, to help combat it. But yeah, I mean, but yes, I have ivermectin and I've had it.
Well, my dairyman, they can get it by the jug,
Yep.
so I'll just go over there and get him, he'll pour me some up and I've got it, He likes to mix it in a smoothie.
Yeah, exactly.
And why they resisted letting us do that is beyond my comprehension.
I'm well aware.
Just one more example of why everything they did with COVID was absolutely wrong.
COVID was a course, but and then viruses, not virus fungus.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Commissioners Court, and we're on item number 7. Discuss and take appropriate action to approve a resolution establishing a 20% Hood County homestead exemption to property taxes pursuant to section 11.13N of the Texas Tax Code for Hood County resident homesteads. Commissioner Samuelson.
Thank you, Judge. Before I get started, are there any speakers for this one?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one.
Go ahead.
Tina Brown.
Well, it would be nice for homeowners to get an additional break. Every time you do this, you hurt other people. There's always a downside to this. People who rent, their rents will go up because those owners do not get this extra homestead exemption. Small businesses, their property taxes will go up. I just want to remind you that if you're going to give something away to one person, you're going to take it away from somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Samuelson.
Thank you. So when we voted on the 10% tax exemption 2 years ago, Commissioner Wilson made a motion to go to 20%, which at that time we did not do. 20% is the highest allowed by the state. We did not do that at that time, but after several discussions with the chief appraiser and our county auditor, I think now is the perfect time to go ahead and move to 20% homestead exemption, and here's why. This is the first year that the Wolf Hollow tax abatement is no longer exists. That will add an additional $234 million to the taxable value. The estimated new construction will add another $385 million, which is not subject to the 3.5% cap. The overall current estimate net taxable value is up about $1 billion from last year. As you know, there is commercial development going on all over the county, but due to the concentration of gas lines and access to the grid in Precinct 2, there will be more industrial development headed our way. I think a new one gets announced almost every day. This court has made some decisions over the past year to focus on our core responsibilities as a county government, which is resulting in a more efficient county government. And lastly, this court implemented a fund balance policy over a year ago. The policy states we should keep an unassigned fund balance of 35%, which based on our current budget of $44.5 million would be $15.5 million. Our external audit firm has confirmed that our current unassigned fund balance is approximately double this amount at about $32 million. The Texas legislature had over $20 billion surplus and failed to provide meaningful tax relief to the taxpayers. Hood County Commissioners Court can and should do as much as we can to provide tax relief to our citizens. Going to 20% homestead exemption means an additional $90 to the homeowners with an average value of $350,000. The impact is about $1.5 million to our budget, but is more than offset by the numbers I gave earlier. So that's why I laid this out. So any comments, questions?
Yeah, I've got a question on some of the mechanics of this. The tax abatement is not the same as new construction,
right,
correct? So this is going to figure into the overall, how do I say this exactly right?
It will be subject to the 3.5%.
Right. So that is inside that. So is the additional 10% that we're talking about here for the homestead exemption figured into that or cut out of the top?
Can you ask that again?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly how to say that. So last time that when we did the original 10%, that was cutting 10% of that revenue out. That was changing the revenue number, and our no new revenue rate was affected by that. Is this before or after no new revenue rate? In other words, are we looking to make more of a shift from the tax abatement?
So it's the tax abatement where those funds will go and where this will be deducted on the same base.
So the no new revenue number will be the same next year as it was this year, because that's what, last time we did that changed our no new revenue number. It changed our gross revenue coming in. So is this doing that, or will the no new revenue number calculated?
The no new revenue, so the base that the no new revenue rate is, say the base again, the dollar figures that the no new revenue rate is based on includes the new 234 million and will be reduced by the 10%, or the additional 10%. So it's going to affect the same base, which then the no new revenue rate will be calculated off of, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, say that again.
Okay, so
let's do it this way. Okay, the no new revenue rate, or let's say the no new revenue, we're at 25 million, just to make it easy. Okay. Last time, whenever we gave or did the 10% homestead, our revenue for that year dropped from 25 million to 24 million, just to make up a number. So with the new not new construction, but getting rid of the tax abatement, that rolled in our valuation to get that same number, the rate dropped significantly.
Right.
So are we looking at doing the exemption where it's after that no new revenue rate, so it would still be the 25 million? In other words, the homestead rate would go down a little bit, commercial would come up a little bit to yield that same 25 million.
Yes.
This is a very important point that we're
yes, I think
kind of splitting hairs here.
Because yes, so let's just say it this way: the more the base goes up because of the 3.5% cap, the no new revenue rate goes down.
Right.
So by reducing the base, then the no new revenue rate won't be compressed as much. Is that what you're asking?
I guess yes. That it is the after this is done, is the no new revenue rate still yielding the same revenue that we brought in this year?
Well, not exactly, because the 234 and the...
Well, that doesn't count against your no new revenue rate. New construction doesn't.
No, the 234 is the abatement that's on the base. Yes.
Right. So your valuation goes up, but are we still bringing in last year's revenue, or does that drop the revenue for a no new revenue rate?
If this were...
You've got other factors that are coming in that's going to affect it. It's just not those two factors.
Right, that's what I'm, if
I get that, yeah.
All things being equal, if we took last year's and forget about all the new numbers for this year and took last year's and reduced and did a 20% tax abatement last year, then the no new revenue rate would be based on a lower number of the no new revenue rate would be calculated against a lower value. Is that what you're asking? Because you would be taking enough 10% off. But like Judge said, there's so many factors going in because appraisal values went up and other...
Sure, and that all yields the same revenue with your no new revenue rate. So in other words, if we brought in 25 million last year, and I guess this is the long and short of this, if we brought in 25 million last year, we implement this for next year, does our no new revenue bring us back to 25 million? Are we still at that same watermark on the no new revenue rate specifically?
I don't think you can
I don't see how we can figure that
exact
right now.
number with,
You want to table this and get with the auditor and Jeff Law and see what?
Well, could I throw something in before we table it?
Yeah.
So I did talk to Mr. Law about this, and you know, did anybody mention that Wolf Hollow abatement is over with?
yeah, that was the first thing.
Okay, all right, well, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah,
So-
but that doesn't figure in as new construction.
No, it will impact the no new revenue rate.
Yes, yeah, it will bring the no new revenue rate down, but that no new revenue rate will still yield the same 25 million that it did last year.
Yes.
Whenever we did the last one, we went from 25 million to 23 and a half on the no new revenue rate, figuring for the next year, because that just came out of the revenue chunk.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking to shift it a little bit and maintain the 25 million, or are you coming below the 25 million on the no new revenue?
Well, I think because of, oh, sorry, Commissioner Eagle, did you?
I'll wait till y'all are through.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were.
Y'all go ahead.
No. So because of the additional factors with the Wolf Hollow coming in and with the new construction, I think the end result will be that we will have the same amount of tax revenue, or probably actually more because of the new construction. So the 3.5% cap is the 385 million is not impacted by the cap, right? The new construction.
Right, yes.
But the 234 million that Wolf Hollow is now added into the base is impacted by the 3.5% cap. So we will not realize, if that's a way to put it, the total impact of 235 million being added to our base because of the cap.
Would you be okay with tabling this and let me get
Well,
with Jeff and kind of
Yeah,
work it through
let's see
some
what
of this?
Commissioner Eagle has to say. Go ahead.
So to continue, if you go back and look at the 2024 certifiable net taxable value is a little above 12 billion. That's for all the properties. Taxable value, which is what we utilize for tax rates. This year, it appears there's some protests, quite a few protests out there, but they're going to resolve probably 85-90% of them. You're looking at potentially 13.4 billion that'll get certified. Maybe less than that, but it's going to be over $1 billion more valuation. My understanding, I'm talking to Mr. Law, was that if we implement this 10% additional tax, not abatement actually, an exemption, homestead exemption, that it's going to pretty much be a wash as far as the numbers are concerned. Of course, y'all want to table it, that's fine. But I was in favor of going 20% 2 years ago, because I agree with Commissioner Samuelson. I think we have a duty to give every tax break that the state let us do it. We should do it. And I disagree that rent will go up. That doesn't necessarily mean rent will go up. And I disagree that small businesses are going to pay more. That doesn't necessarily equate to that. There's a free market out there, and that's not a cause and effect issue. In my opinion, having a homestead exemption. An additional 10% if we can provide that to the taxpayers and still end up with where, because the other side of, you can raise your taxes, but how about cut spending? Do governments ever think about that? I don't know. But, there's other ways to deal with if we have arguably a little less revenue potential, is you cut spending somewhere. So,
Yeah, the
but if
impact,
y'all want to table it, that's up to you.
the impact is 1.5 million, but we have 15 million in excess in our fund balance. And, we have a new audit firm, D.O. Brown, and Dio Brown and Hill, thank you. And they, from what I've heard from our auditor, Stephanie, they've done a really outstanding job this year and have come to the conclusion that our fund balance is at 32 million, which is way over our 35%. So if you're worried about some amount, you know, the 1.5 million being, the impact won't be 1.5 million because we have the 234 million coming in
from the abatement?
Yes.
No, that's what I'm saying. That number is not additional revenue. It pushes everybody's tax rate down. It pushes the overall tax rate down because you've added valuation.
Mm-hmm.
So to get to the same number, you need a lower rate to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So that pushes that down. Now new construction is on top of that.
Yes.
So
we have until July, right?
What?
We have till July 1st to do this?
Yeah, that was.
So we can do it next quarter.
Thank you. That was what I was going to also say when you asked about tabling it. As long as it's, we make a decision before July 1st, it would be effective for this tax season.
Okay.
Is there a motion to table it until next Commissioners Court?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to table item number 7 until the next Commissioners Court, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 8, discuss and take appropriate action to approve the District Attorney's Office purchase of LexisNexis AI software subscription and authorize the county judge to sign the contract. Subscription will be for 3 years. The contract will allow annual approval, disapproval via county budgeting process. The contract will be under Tax Directive CPO 5259. The illustrious Ryan Sinclair.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Before I begin, let me just say, since he's such a rock star, any questions the court may have for me, I'll be deferring to this right honorable gentleman in the blue suit. He's been quite knowledgeable this morning, so you can ask him any questions. Just kidding. This is a request for a subscription to the LexisNexis Plus AI software. It is a legal research and drafting tool. The salesman and I have arranged a 3-year contract. That contract is subject to annual approval or disapproval in the county's budgeting process. So if this court or future courts don't want to fund that in the future, then we can get out of the contract. But it is for 3 years. The contract would be effective immediately with a minimal charge until the beginning of the next budget year. I think it's around $514 for the rest of this budget year until October 1st. And then it starts at the regular monthly amount for the first year on 10/1. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, I thought that the county policies, all software is purchased through IT. Why is you going out and purchasing it on your own?
Well, sir, this can be charged to IT. That's fine with me. I don't really care if it's paid for by the IT department or my department. So that it's fine if the court wants to allocate those funds to the IT budget. I don't know if the IT budget has the money for this remaining fiscal year. It's only $514. I do have that money. This will be a replacement for the Westlaw that we currently pay for out of my department in the dues, books, and subscriptions line item. So once we sign this Lexis contract, I would be getting out of the Westlaw contract and terminating that. We do pay for that out of my budget, but if the court wanted to charge this to the IT budget, I'm completely fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, do you know if either you, Owen, or Drew looked at this contract prior?
As far as I know, no one's looked at the contract.
I know the law department, the legal department has, the attorneys.
Yes, the county attorney's office has. I believe Mr. Tillman, the purchasing director, has looked at it as well.
Yeah, and last time we got all the wording in for all of the new cybersecurity, all the anti-discrimination clauses, all of that's been in there.
Yes, well, that language was already in there.
We just weren't aware of it.
We didn't have to add anything extra, like the county cybersecurity policy or the non-discrimination statement, because the contract already was governed by language that covered those areas.
Yeah, so we tapped the brakes on that a little bit to make sure that those things were, and they were all.
They were already there.
As far as whether it needs to be placed under IT contract services or in your office, that I guess that's a decision that we can make here. I would be okay with just finishing it out in your office for the year at least, and then we can go in and address it at budget time. And if we need to move it over there, we certainly can.
It's $514 for the next 2 months, right? August and September.
Well, actually, for June and July, it's free.
Okay.
And then for August and September, it's $257 a month.
Yeah.
And then 10/1, it starts at that higher annual monthly amount.
So for budgeting purposes, we would need to know that if this is renewed for the next budget, it's about $30,000 for the 25-26.
Yes, ma'am.
What account will that come out of?
Well, it can either come out of my department, the dues, books, and subscriptions line item, or I'm fine with it being allocated out of the IT budget.
The dues, books, and subscription is 010-4760-4800, which looked like it had room.
It does. I have room to cover the $514 for the rest of this fiscal year out of that line item.
In this legal research, you gotta have it.
Right. And Andy's offsetting it by not renewing, what was the name of the other software?
Westlaw. Now, I will say this, the Westlaw product we have is not an AI product, so it's much cheaper than this. I think it's only a couple $100 a month for Westlaw, where this is going to be in the first year, around $2,600 a month. But this is much more powerful. We did some testing on it, and it can do tasks in seconds or minutes that would take, the regular process hours. So this AI is already being used by the defense bar, and this is something that increases efficiency and productivity. Last year we had our most productive year. This is another tool to continue that trend. And so we're requesting approval.
Thank you.
I move that we accept this and it remain in the DA's budget. That's what it should be.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by the county judge to approve the district attorney's office purchase of the LexisNexis software subscription. Second, to be paid out of his budget, DA's budget, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in agreement say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Okay. All right. Item number 9 is talk about convening to executive session on real estate. We're going to take that after we conclude everything, all the business in Commissioners Court. So that brings us to item number 10. Consider and take appropriate action to allow the county judge to authorize and sign the Hood County ambulance lease agreement between Hood County and Texas EMS. Yes, sir. The illustrious Fire Marshal Jeff Young.
Judge, Commissioners, I hope to make this one very quick and easy. So we had purchased an ambulance. That agreement is basically stating that Texas EMS will maintain, register, take care of all the needs of that ambulance while they're using it.
Gotta have it.
Basically all that is.
We need the ambulance.
Yes, sir.
All right, do I hear a motion?
I move to allow the county judge to authorize and sign the Hood County ambulance lease agreement between Hood County and Texas EMS.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to allow the county judge to authorize and sign the Hood County ambulance lease agreement between Hood County and Texas EMS. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Item number 11, receive update on Title VI non-discrimination policy statement and Title VI assurances and appendices. HR, Ms. Melissa Welber.
Thank you. These particular documents will be loaded to our website. Also, we're going to start adding some of the verbiage. I'm going to change up the verbiage a little bit on our agenda so that it's pushed out to the community. We're going to put it in our handbook. It'll be on the front page of the handbook for the employees and also for supervisors. We're doing everything we possibly can right now to get this information pushed out. I am working on the Title VI plan. There could be some cost moving forward on how we do our outreach. I've also I need to do a survey on the community, not just on employees, but on the community, on languages spoken in the home. That is part of the Title VI plan. So if there is a cost, I'll be bringing that to the court. Other than that, I'll probably just move forward on getting this ready to go. It doesn't require court approval. I've received word that it is something we have to do. So I'm going to move forward and get it done.
That's the key word, something we've got to do.
We do, yes.
Okay.
It's not optional, unfortunately.
How much money do we receive from the federal government?
I was told it's a $55+ million grant for Granbury Road.
Okay.
Of course, that doesn't matter to you, right?
No, there's always strings attached.
Well, Melissa Weller does an excellent job. She works with everybody in this community very well. Yeah, I hear a motion.
I don't need a motion.
Oh, you just...
I'm just updating the court. I want you to know what's ahead of us. Like I said, there could be some cost moving forward as far as outreach program and things like that.
But we got to have it.
We do have to have it. Also, there's going to be training. I'll just skip down to the next one. And employees are required to be trained. I'm working with IT. Hopefully we can just push out a video, but I have to prove that the employee has received the training. So if not, we'll be having meetings, and I'm going to need the court support for every department. They do have to attend this training. It's not optional.
And that includes the court.
Yes, sir, it does.
Everybody needs to understand that.
Yes, it includes every employee from Hood County.
Even the county judge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That satisfies
You
that.
can do it on your computer.
Okay. All right. We got the updates. Thank you very much for that. So that takes care of 11 and 12.
Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions moving forward.
You do a great job. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item number 13, discuss and take appropriate action for funding to replace failed boiler at Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center from Fund 55. And we've got Mr. Leland here to explain that. Leland Lawrence.
Judge, Commissioners, I've got a good hot water background in this building. I provided a couple quotes. I'm just waiting in the court's direction. Tell me which way you want me to move.
Are you saying we don't have enough hot water up here yet?
No.
Okay, just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, this is another one of those have-tos, isn't it? Yeah, we do need to do this. I'm sure you scouted around and got the best price and best everything, am I right?
The best price I can find is the top quote I provided, and I provided one more. For example, the more expensive quote here is the company that did the boilers at the jail 2 years ago. So you can see that this company is,
okay,
half the price there.
Yeah.
So you're recommending Environmatic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make a motion to approve the funding to replace the failed boiler at Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center and bring that money from Fund 55.
Second.
Second. All right, motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to replace the failed boiler at Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center from Fund 55. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion?
Just a question on what is the amount, Commissioner?
It's $32,554 to Environmatic Services.
Thank you.
Amount being $32,524 from Environmatic.
554.
Okay, 554. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. All right, item number 14, discuss and take appropriate action to consider and approve an early contract renewal of the contract with Exxon Enterprises, Inc. to include the cybersecurity addendum to avoid an upcoming significant price deal. Sheriff Deeds, we've got Captain Jonathan Berry And I don't even know who you are. You must be from Exxon.
Yes, sir.
And from Exxon. What's your name?
Matt Applebaum.
I know, I recognize him, right. Okay.
Anyway, Judge, Commissioners, so you got the cybersecurity addendum, everything's been updated, we should be ready to go. I got my experts here if you need any questions answered.
Okay. So if anybody have any questions? The only thing I can see is from looking at it, we almost have to have this too. The new...
This, with the body cameras, the in-car systems, and all the additional high-tech stuff that comes with this, yeah, we have to have it to keep up with today and the future and all of that, to keep people safe, keep my deputies safe, and the people we deal with safe. And everything's just come a long way since I've been sheriff with all the high-tech stuff. So, and by entering in this agreement now, I'm signing off on this, and it'll save us, it's an 8-year contract, but it'll save us 7% or something, a lot of money over the course of the deal, because in July they will up the prices, so that's why we wanted to do this now. We'll enter in the agreement now, it won't take effect until October 1st. So.
See, this was on a previous court, and it was tabled at that point because of the question about the cybersecurity revision, and that has now been addressed and cleared through the county attorney's office, and everything is good on that from that aspect now. So that was really the hold up, from it being passed, prior. So with that, I will make a motion.
I have some questions first, if you don't mind. Were there any speakers, by the way?
No speakers.
So I know I've had a lot of conversations with Mr. Applebaum and Captain Barry. I'm just trying to discern between what is additional. We already have some of this, which is a renewal, and what is the additional amount that we'll need to add into the 2025-2026 budget. The total is $406,000 that would be billed in November, correct? But some of that is already included in the renewal of what we already have. And I know you sent me the update with the green bars, but that's for the total of all the years, and so I couldn't really tell what amount of that would be.
What you already have, what you already have budgeted is the request. So, and I believe, and this may not be the exact number, the current budget that you guys have with our contracts are about $250,000 a year.
Okay.
Something of that sort, plus or minus.
So it's less than $250,000 that we're adding.
Yes.
Just for full disclosure to the public, what we're being requested to do is approve an expense that's going to be in our 25-26 budget, but we haven't had any budget meetings yet, and so that's my uncomfortableness with this process. That's why I was trying to understand, well, it's not the whole $406,000 that you're asking us to approve early, it's
the delta.
It's the delta.
$160,000 roughly.
$160,000 delta. And we do, and I've had several conversations with Ms. Matlock about this, we have a fund that we've been carrying for a couple of years, which is called the HCAD refund, that has over $400,000 in it. So I feel like if we can, now that we know it's 160 and not 406, I feel like we can make that adjustment at budget time to reduce that. And I've had conversations with her, but the budget's all, she may come up with a better idea when we get there, but that's an option to be able to do that. So I just want to say that.
This is I think that this, in so many ways, it provides a great deal of training. It streamlines the report writing process. I think that it probably I hate to say it, dang machines are taking everything out of them, but it probably increases the accuracy of these things and not just the time spent. I think that this is an effective tool for law enforcement. I think we have to move in that direction for sure. So.
Yes.
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the early contract renewal, the contract with Axon Enterprises to include cybersecurity addendum to avoid an upcoming significant price increase.
Second.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to approve the early contract renewal of the contract with Axon Enterprises to include the cyber security addendum to avoid a significant upcoming price increase, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I had a couple other questions I didn't get a chance to ask, if you don't mind. Just, there's a net transfer debit of roughly 106,000. That's going to be a debit to us, correct?
So
that's going to get tacked on. Is that tacked on? Or?
Yeah. So the debit that you see on the contract is because we're consolidating contracts. So this is going to be an outstanding hardware payment from one of the contracts that we're bringing over into this one. So
okay.
For the tasers.
So that was one. The only other question regarding this Cradle Point, that you will be the partner for purposes of the Cradle Point utilization, the way I'm reading this, but you're assuming no liability for it. So let me ask you about that, if you'll explain that.
As far as legal terminology, it's in.
So you're not the right one to ask this.
We have a legal team that reviews all of our contracts, and after the review from your legal team, we got the thumbs up on all of this. With that being said, we provide Cradle Points. The actual Cradle Point networking and all of their software is run through Cradle Point itself. Okay. So we would be what you would consider to be a value-added reseller and help them distribute these to our products.
All right, that's all I got.
Okay.
I'll talk about the Cradle Points real quick. That's the part that connects the internet and everything back to the cars from the IT. So it's very, very, very important, not just for Axon, but for the computers to get this filming back and forth. It's all tied into that. So those parts are very, very important. So I don't know all the technical way it works, but that's how it all works anymore. So it's not, used to be 15 years ago, hockey puck looking thing up on your dashboard. It's not that anymore. It's through that. So.
Okay. Good. So now I call for the motion, and second has been made. Call for the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations. All right. Thank you. Okay, that brings us now to item number 15. Discuss and take appropriate action to move forward with action to implement redundancy for the Hood County-owned radio towers not to exceed $20,000. Miss Margaret Campbell.
So
Yes,
Ms. Campbell
ma'am.
went to a TDM conference last week, and I think she's got some updates for us, and excited to hear about them.
I do. So the biggest issue that we have right now with the radio networks is the lack of redundancy. And what the ultimate solution is going to be is fiber optic. It's the most reliable. The problem is it comes at a hefty cost. I just got the quote back from Spectrum yesterday, so I haven't had time to share it with you guys. They priced it out at 36, 48, and 60 months. And it comes to between $285,000 and $305,000 per tower, which is expensive. There are two short-term options that we have identified. I talked with people at the TDM conference and gave us some insight that they're using it and it works. I've worked with Chris and IT on it as well, and we can do a satellite option, or we can do a cellular option which uses Cradle Points and firewalls. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it where the microwaves don't misalign as frequently and we don't lose communications. I don't have quotes on the two intermediate short-term options yet.
Yeah, I didn't expect for us to do something today, really. I just wanted Margaret to have the opportunity to come up and update us on her progress on the short-term solution. And we will need to make a decision fairly quickly so that we can get the redundancy in place. So thank you for doing the research and let us know when you have a solution. But I think the reason I put this 20,000 on there is as we had talked, and you may have more information now, but for a satellite or something similar solution for the 3 towers could be under $20,000.
I would hope so. I think that's a short-term solution, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
Oh, there's no motion. It's just a
Just an update.
Oh, that's it? Okay, good. All right. Item number 16, discuss and take appropriate action to adjust the county court at law judge's salary to comply with Government Code 659.012. Give direction to the county auditor to increase the appropriate budget lines from the account designated by the Commissioners Court. Mr. Matt Mills.
Yes, I sent you an email about this, I think last week, and I don't know if you have any comments or feedback, but I guess I can just start with where this started when the judge came and started asking me about his salary, and I started looking into it. We had a meeting that 2 of y'all were at, plus Leanne and Stephanie and the judge. I think that was all of it. But the issue is Government Code 659.012 lays out the general salary for district judges. And then there's another provision in Government Code 25.0005 that lays out what court of law judges get, and basically it links it to district. So you got to jump to those two. So in 2019, the legislature passed a tiered raise for district judges and then court of law judges are linked to that, as well as elected prosecutors. And the tiered raise was you get 10% more after 4 years of service, and then 20% more after 8 years of service. And so, if you recall, Judge Messina, when he was on the bench, he was getting those raises, okay, when he was still here, based on his seniority. And then when we had a new court of law judge come in 2023, January, he didn't meet, under the existing law, the longevity for judges to get a bump. So he came in at 140, which was the original benchmark salary. However, they passed a law, and it was House Bill 3474 in 2023, that gave cross credit. And I guess he didn't realize it, and I wasn't paying attention to his budget because it didn't really impact me. And the cross credit means that your credit as an elected county attorney or district attorney now counts for your judicial raise to that next tier. And in his case, it's 2 tiers because of his DA time plus judge time. Does that make sense? So what we should have done, starting September 1st of 2023, was bump him based on his longevity that now counts to 168. And we didn't. And we didn't do it the next year or the next year, and we're at kind of an odd number this year, which Stephanie thinks might have just been based on the elected officials' races. So instead of being at 140 this year, he's at 144,200. But there's obviously a shortfall that he didn't get paid and should have been paid for nearly 2 years now. Does that all make sense? So I guess the question is, what do we do now? And the solution, I think, that's been at least proposed is to take money from contingency, pay him lump sum for the back time that he's missed, and then start paying him at the new number moving forward. And that's all. You've got a spreadsheet on that. That's been accounted for by Stephanie. So that's just my understanding. If y'all have questions, let me know.
Well, what's right is right. We owe him the money. He's put in the time. He deserves it. I don't think there's any question about that. We have to honor what the law says in that regard.
Okay, now the state contributes to this,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
So are
Yes.
they giving us half the lump?
Yes, and
Okay.
I remember, somebody can double check me if I'm wrong, but they've bumped up, and that's for me too. So for me and him, they'll pay half of what we're supposed to be getting. So yes, they've been bumping that up, but we've just not been bumping him up as well.
So I think Stephanie was at the meeting, and she's got it all figured out. So
Yes.
whatever her calculations are, is what we owe Judge Haddix, and to take it from the contingency fund and then going forward with the increases what we decided. So, somebody want to make a motion to that?
I will make a motion that we, adjust the county court of law judge's salary to comply with government code 659.012, directing the county auditor to increase the appropriate budget line from account designated by Commissioners Court, which she recommends contingency 010-4090-49700, for the amount that she has calculated to be a total budget impact for FY 2025 of $64,039.73.
Second.
Now, when talking to you, does something need to occur with your salary at this point too?
No.
Or this is only, because I knew that
I was on top of
only.
it, I wasn't gonna let this slide.
Don't complicate it, Commissioner.
Okay, just making sure that we're
No,
getting everything done here at
We're
once,
good.
so we're good.
Yeah, we're good, yeah.
All right. You've heard the motion and the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Unanimous. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mills. Congratulations, Judge.
He's buying dinner.
Unanimous.
Dinner on Judge
Okay.
Haddix.
Okay. Now we come down to the consent agenda. Does any commissioner wish to question or pull anything from the consent agenda, or do I hear a motion?
Judge, I need to pull D1A1.
D? Is that what you said?
Yes, D, under line item transfers.
The HCAT.
Yes. This is just that there, as Stephanie and I started looking at, talking about Axon and all the things, looking at the HCAT refund, she had already set aside $60,000 for HCAT service fees out of that fund, HCAT refund, so she's going to make that adjustment instead of it coming from contingency.
Okay, so with that delineation down of DA1, do I hear a motion?
Move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Yes, to approve the consent agenda.
Yes, I
moved-
did.
You did?
Minus this.
Okay,
correction.
minus that one deal. Do I hear a second? Second by, motion made by Commissioner Samuelson to delete A1 from the consent agenda, and with that deletion to approve the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Andrews. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, no road ops, so we got Mr. Clint Head. Set public hearings for the following replat. Can we just do them both together? We're gonna have one public hearing?
No, they have two public hearings. You make the motion that you set the public hearings for both replats for July 22nd.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I see, we got two different precincts. Okay, set public hearing for the following replat. Robinson Creek Estates, lots 5R and 5R1. What date do you recommend?
July 22nd.
July 22nd. Okay, 21-4. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We set the public hearing for Robinson Creek Estates Lot 5R and 5R1 for July 22nd, 2025.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner. Motion made by Commissioner Andrews to set a public hearing on Robinson Creek Estates for July 1st, 2024. Second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Second, set a public hearing for the Landings East, lots 3722-R, 3724-R, and Tract A, Precinct 2.
So, Judge, I move that we set the public
Y'all
hearing.
set it for both of them.
Okay.
He
Well,
didn't mention it.
You didn't mention
No.
it.
Set the public hearing for the Landings East lots 3722-R and 3724-R and Tract A for July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to set the public hearings for the Landings East for the same date. Second by Commissioner Andrews. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. B, discuss and consider the final plat of Twin Canyons Estates, lots 1 and 2, block 1, and lot 1, block 2 of precinct 2. What do you sayest thou?
This final plat was actually approved April 22nd, Commissioners Court, but the owners decided they wanted to change how it was laid out, so they had to come back to court. This final plat is a subdividing an 11.032 acres portion of a 59.942 acres tract that is part of the Thomas E. Tucker Survey abstract number 566 that will be creating 3 lots, with the largest being 5.026 acres and the smallest being 2.262 acres. Proposed plat lies in the road corridor district in precinct 2 and will be served by a private well and on-site sewage facilities. All comments have been addressed. Staff recommends approval as presented.
Okay. Any comments or questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the final plat of Twin Canyons Estates, lots 1 and 2, block 1, and lot 1, block 2.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to approve the final plat of Twin Canyons Estates, lot 1 and 2, block 1, and lot 1, block 2, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Last, discuss and consider the interlocal with Parker County for the Timber Preserve development and allow the plat of Timber Preserve to be recorded. What's that about?
We did an interlocal like this back in, I think, 22 for Cartwright Ranch. The majority of this property, 189.672 acres, is the whole subdivision. There's a 16.35 acre portion that lies in Hood County, which would be the rear lots, which doesn't encompass a whole lot. So the houses and everything are, I don't imagine they're going to build them back in Hood County. So they're going to be in Parker County. All the private streets are in Parker County. So since the roads didn't apply to our regulations anyways, we have an interlocal agreement to allow Parker County to do their review and to approve the plat, and we just have to bring it to court and ask the court to allow it to be approved. Now, Parker County has approved the plat. I request that the court, if you make the motion to approve this interlocal, you make the motion to allow the plat to be approved upon us receiving the signed interlocal back from Parker County. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got this figured out. So yeah, there's no infrastructure whatsoever in Hood County. This is backyards to a bunch of lots. We're doing an interlocal to allow them.
And this allows Parker County to actually do the sewer too, because you might have the tank in Parker County and the spray field in Hood County, so you can't double dibble and charge them twice.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. With that, I'll make a motion that we allow the judge to sign the interlocal with Parker County for the Timber Preserve development and allow the plat of Timber Preserve to be recorded once we get the interlocal back signed from the judge.
Second.
Okay. So the motion is to allow the judge to sign an interlocal with Parker County for the Timber Preserve development and allow the plat of the Timber Preserve to be recorded, made by Commissioner Andrews, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion?
Just a comment. Under item number 3, it shows that Commissioner Precinct 1 is the official representative of Hood County in all matters related to this agreement. Did y'all ever figure out who's going to be Parker County's rep? Will it be Judge Dean, or do you know?
Judge Dean, I suppose. Went back and forth with the county attorney to them, and I guess Parker County approved our changes that the county attorney requested. So.
Okay. Oh, that was it.
Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, now financial. Look here. God, it doesn't look like Stacy tonight. Wow. How are you doing? Good. What do you have?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. We have payment. You all have received the advance copies of the payments over $10,000, and the expenditures for this court is $1,278,381.27. Our office has reviewed all of those and recommends payment.
Okay. Anybody have any comment or questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the payment in the amount of $1,278,381.27.
Okay. A motion is made by Commissioner Wilson to pay the invoices from May 21st, 2025 to June 3rd, 2025 in the amount of $1,278,381.27. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Unanimous. Did a good job. Thank you very much for coming down. Now we go back to item number 9, which is convene into executive session to discuss real estate pursuant to Local Government Code 551.072, reconvene into open meeting to take appropriate action as necessary. So at this time, at 12:10 p.m., we are adjourning into executive session. Thank y'all for coming down again. Sam, appreciate it. No, I don't. Never seen you.
We have more stuff to sign.
Are convening back into Commissioner's Court. I report that no action was taken in executive committee, and now the court will entertain any motion anybody cares to make.
I'll make a motion that we ask purchasing to get an appraisal on the property that we discussed.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Andrews to get an appraisal on the subject property as discussed. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion?
Did he take from contract services?
Contract services.
Yes.
And general.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Are there any other motions that need to be made?
No, sir.
If not, all right.
Good.
So at this thing, 11 minutes till 1, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Anything else to sign?
This back. She wants it just to...
All right, sir. Good. I just want to let you know, Annette, that I was a photographer for 30 plus years, and I retired about the same time you did in 2018. I can still take a picture.
I know.
I'm glad you made that comment.
Yeah. I don't get it from my dairyman. He gets it in Fort Judge.
Yeah.